we're going away from the, Republican Democrat Party system, and it really needs to be based on your community.
Okay.
And as we're all, connected and also separated. But I see your platform as being able to bring in that connection, but also that separation.
hmm Well, let's jump into it so that folks can actually understand what it is that we're talking
Yeah,
about. So think about
absolutely.
a futuristic system that people can actually own their own identity, they can own their own assets, and then from there they can build their life, whether it's the simple things that we already do. Maybe we register a car, maybe we get a birth certificate, maybe we get a marriage certificate or a marriage license. Maybe we actually want to eat food that has actually grown in a certain way or raised in a certain way, and you've got a cryptographic history. But I'm going to jump in just a simple, the way that you log in is not like anything in the past, but it's five-factor authentication, something you have, something you are, something you do in a certain space and time. So you don't need usernames and passwords anymore in this system. And what it does is it'll log you in, and you can actually see a dashboard of lots of different things, maybe companies that you've created, maybe assets that you have, maybe cards that you have. And they're physical cards and digital cards. This is a good example, of a particular card that actually ties to the fiat world. But how do you actually move into the digital world and do it in such a responsible way where you can actually say, hey, I have certain accounts. Maybe they're with banks. Maybe it's Merrill Lynch. Well, I guess they're gone. Maybe it's Wells Fargo or Fidelity or Chase. And then you've got assets, and then you've got currencies, equities, commodities, cryptos, rewards, bonds. But you want to actually use them in such a way that's the future. For you mentioned Hawaii, so this is actually the Hawaiian dollar. You can actually look at the asset where you can actually transfer the asset. So let's say we want to use the Hawaiian dollar to actually buy decentralized digital Bitcoin. So I'll just do an example real fast. And you can see that there's a transaction here. So you can actually see that we're going to transfer from the dollar to DUSD to DBTC, but we're going to actually do it in real time and full settlement. So what that really means is I'm
Well,
going to
we
go
only
ahead.
see your Utah screen at the moment.
Are you not? What do you mean by Utah screen?
Your
So
dash,
there's a
your
screen up that,
dashboard, but we didn't see any.
Oh, it's not doing any of the other stuff, huh?
no.
Let me stop sharing and start sharing again. See
Share
if
your whole screen, yeah.
yeah, I know I did that. So we'll share the whole. Yeah, I shared the whole thing. We'll try it again. Can you guys see it okay there?
Yeah.
Yeah, the swap assets.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull this over somewhere else. So let me go back then. So let's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of
go back.
start
Yeah.
over. So when I did you see how I logged in by chance?
No.
All right.
No, they did not.
All right. That's okay. No, we'll start all over so you can really understand it. Because it sounds like we got people on board that actually want to truly get their head around this. So, so here, and there's multiple environments. So if I back up and I actually start over from kind of scratch, what we're talking about is the digital world that we all are a part of. So it's not a spiritual thing, it's not a physical thing, it's in the middle. It's a digital ecosystem. For instance, all of our listeners, everybody that's on here is basically connecting digitally. You'll stream this digitally, they'll listen to it digitally, they'll comment digitally. But imagine if we actually look at it as we're one world and one people, and we work together with a common good that says, and I noticed that Ragu's on here, he's an absolute brilliant economist that says something really simple: buy local and with the local currency, and it will change everything. And I emphatically agree with him. And this digital world has tools and jurisdictions of different environments. Utah is just one of those environments. Okay, so here's some other ones. Mexican environment, same thing. They speak a different language, Spanish than English, but ultimately they have the same issues: identity, health, voting, finance, business, exchange, currency, disputes. And I would argue that through the Pacific, there's actually a lot of different organizations that understand, or countries or kingdoms or people that already understand sovereignty and the desire to actually own their own world and identity. So the digital world has actually been through different cultures, namely 28 countries within the Pacific. And there's some of them that are already on board. What I'm going to do is tell you about Utah and the massive opportunities that Utah as a community or a culture or a state is basically pulling in for the individual. So they're saying no longer does the state say who you are. You say who you are at either conception or birth, you call it, but then you actually get an identity that is yours. So for instance, I has just logged in, five-factor authentication into a digital identity in a digital jurisdiction, namely this Utah life environment, but it could be the Mexican environment, it could be a Hawaiian environment, it could be multiple different environments. The login process, it works within different jurisdictions and has different assets that are the base assets with different jurisdictions. So I'm going to use a base asset within the Kingdom of Hawaii, where you can take the Hawaiian dollar and you can actually move it. Like, let's say we want to convert it to gold or silver. Do you want to grab those gold backs over them? I'm sorry. So, or you can convert it into US dollars. So let's say you want to go from a Hawaiian dollar to an American dollar, you could do that. Or you can go to gold back. So this actually represents, that's perfect. This represents the future of monetary systems, if you ask me. So for instance, this one asset right here, these are pure gold, right? Most of you have already probably seen this type of thing, but 24 karat gold. And let's say I want to take something that's digital and buy a digital form of that, you can basically drag and drop it. So we literally are going to say, I want to buy one of these and it's going to have a certain exchange rate. We're going to go ahead and process that payment. So we're using dollar to go through DUSD, which is a digital decentralized version of the US dollar, similar to DBTC or USDT or any of those types of things. And then it ties to these gold back assets. So this is the equivalent of purchasing a portion of those. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap that. So when I do it real fast, it uses identity. And I'm actually, let's see, I'm in the wrong system.
If anybody has a phone right now, if you want to try to scan that QR code.
It's actually unique to the individual. So
Exactly.
it's the security behind this is second to nothing in the world, period. The way that it's rolled out is all built around the individual and their identity first. So the ability for these transactions to actually be consummated comes from, and I'm so sorry, I'm running over one cellular connection doing a Zoom. I should have been more prepared for this, but what I'll do is I'll jump in. Let's see here.
So I see the application for this on multiple levels, especially in a world where we're um, being
See,
bombarded with like hacks and people stealing our information. And I mean, I had one yesterday. I got a contact request and I get a text notification at the same, almost at the same time to get into my TurboTax account. And I'm like, all right, somewhere, evidently TurboTax, I guess, has been hacked. That's usually an indication that they've been hacked or that somewhere the information, somebody thinks my information's important, somebody thinks I make money,
well,
or
everyone has basically been hacked. It doesn't matter if it's Google or Equifax or Microsoft or, I mean, literally the one we relied on was Apple and Google. Both of them have been completely hacked. The only way to really do it is the individual actually has their own ability to own their own authentication and identity and then payments and assets. And what I'm trying to show you here is like we just transferred Hawaiian dollar into the digital version of one of these, like this one particular asset. And I don't know if you saw it here, but when we look into it, 6 months ago, it was basically half the value that it is today. So this $1 converts, this one bill's post, so to speak, converts into 742 US dollars today. And while the value of gold and the reserves goes up and the buying power of the dollar goes down, especially what's happened with the government lockup or closure or whatever they want to call it, the dollar, the actual US dollar, because they just print more and more and more, and it's basically, I'm not going to say a Ponzi scheme, but you can use your own, well, The net
So
net is
how would you tell the difference, you know? Like, what's the difference between your system? Because I mean, right now, we're looking at like, the exchange, right? And transferring money. There's a lot of blockchain crypto companies that are offering these same features.
not really. Most of them actually log into centralized systems, Coinbase, Kraken, uh, Binance. Those are all centralized systems on the exchange side of it. The authentication isn't around the individual. And when you look at this, none of them actually have a state endorsed system. So imagine if you have vendors that you're paying bills with, or you have contacts that you can verify who the individual is. You solve the AI topic. What I mean by that is that back to that scenario where the grandmother got a call from a purported granddaughter, that was all AI. The attorney that came on was all AI. They're having intelligent communications with people, even
Wow.
multiple people in one call. That's a $10 billion fraud scheme against grandparents. And this system in and of itself enables an individual like Victoria, if you wanted to maintain your mother's life, and say, hey, mom, you can still pay your bills and you can still see all your assets and you can still, if you want to send Susie $10 for her birthday in a card with a real dollar or with physical or virtual, you can do all of it. And by the way, you don't have to remember your username and passwords anymore, mom. You just log in with this little app. It's an easy click, it's an easy done, and it's yours. But Victoria, if someone actually sends $7,200 like that criminal wanted to, it pings you and says, hey, your mom wants to send this. Is that okay? You basically approve it, and then it goes through. That's multi-signature, multi-verification. You've got endorsements that's happening at the asset level. So let's say that a county says the title behind this is actually endorsed by the county. You can actually pull out equity real time within the system by dragging and dropping. In this particular view, that's not actually indicated that way, but in this particular view here, the home is actually able to have an equity line real time pulled out of it. All of these assets, and what I'm trying to articulate is, you've got, let's say Bitcoin. Let's say someone wants to buy, and I don't want to use the typical use cases that the world is used to. I'm trying to turn on lights around. Let's say you've got Marriott reward points or Delta, and you want to convert those in for silver. Or let's say that you want to pay a cell phone bill with a digital asset, right? Let's say you want to drop it over that way. All of these things convert in real time with no fees. So there's no exchange on the face of this earth that converts in real time with no fees, no delays, no governments, no banks, and all the assets are owned by the individual. If anyone can please tell me, anything like that. I mean, in my opinion, we've been building this for 16 years to give away to the world, and then layering on top of it jurisdiction rights with laws, like what I was showing you earlier. I'm gonna pull it up real fast, and if you want to look these laws up, please do. But these are all laws that are passed within the state of Utah. There's other states. As a matter of fact, if you want to join, October 17th, you can come to UVU, which is actually where things happen with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And you can literally see how 10 other states are coming in to potentially adopt this as a same standard. The goal is to get everything that we're talking about here as a standard, not just for birth certificates or marriage certificates, which here I'll pull up and show you. So let's say you wanted to pull up vital records. Let's say you wanted to actually do, let's say, a whole life insurance policy.
So
You
you have
could,
a way of basically holding all your information in this one place. And why would somebody put it all in this one place? Why would they put all
because
that information in one place instead of having it stored in different places?
this one place is actually owned by you as an individual, and it's just a representation of something that you can take with you to other places. So you can actually take it. If you don't want to be in the Utah jurisdiction, you can go to the Nevada jurisdiction or the Hawaiian jurisdiction or Vanuatu or Tuvalu or Fiji or Samoa or Arabia, or there's so many different options. But the key is, will governments actually let people own their own assets? And the reality is they can't stop it. They can try and legislate against it. But us as individuals, if we stand together and say, on one hand, enough is enough, where I, as the individual, put my data inside of healthcare record systems, lots of them,
Yeah.
banking, mortgage, title, social platforms, tons of different. I'm putting my data from me as an individual into all these systems. That's the wrong way to do it because they're actually being profiled. They're actually the Palantirs of the world are literally taking your data, AIs of the world, chat GPTs of the world. They're taking your data and literally going to use it against you in a form of slavery in the future. I know that may sound rude and crude, but it's reality.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, if you as the individual say, I actually want to log into all my systems and pull my data from those systems into who I am, and to use maybe AI to basically validate who I am, the essence of who I am, and privately leverage technology for a positive experience. That's the value and benefit of a system that is completely decentralized and really owned by the individual. And I think it's important to note that, in Nigeria 2 years ago, they shut down cell phone numbers and said, if you don't get a digital ID, you don't get to talk on your phone. How many of you, if you lost your phone number, would you have problems getting into a bank account or verifying with this or that, or even doing simple things of verification with the phone numbers? You feel like you're just forced into it. Well, the world's not Nigeria, agree. South Asia, 86 million bank accounts were literally seized, shut down, stopped, says you don't get a digital ID, which is linked to a physical ID and linked to your device. Then you don't get banking. So now we got no cellular services, no banking services, all threats that force the compliance within different cultures. And we're not even talking about Australia that just did it and nobody even cared or fought back. New Zealand, same thing. I would say elements of Canada. But what happened in UK just recently? Like literally a
Hmm.
week ago tomorrow, they came out and said, you can't work if you don't get a digital ID. And what's beautiful is this morning, it's like 2.6 million people have signed an affidavit that says no digital ID. We don't want it. So people are understanding that the centralized system over here that's basically taking all of your data and putting it in their systems, once you link your physical life and biological identity with these digital identities, you will be enslaved and controlled. Why? Because then they link payments on top of that. It's not a payment like this, real gold. It's a payment of any kind of a pound, a mark, a yen, a US dollar. They just create them out of nothing with no accountability behind it to enslave the people with the very thing that they actually work for, their time, their effort. But if employers basically say, hey, we're going to pay you in this currency, maybe it's one of these assets, and then you can go to whatever kind of asset that you want to. So, for instance, there's a simple app on the phone. You can convert it back into the fiat system, into the banking world. Or you can even say, you know what, I want to actually say I want to buy $10 worth of something, and I want to actually, let's say, convert it from a US dollar to a digital US dollar. You can literally pop in a credit card and spend away. Like you can convert from the fiat world to the digital world and then go into real world assets. And that's really what this is about is not the crypto means, not the assets that are literally not backed by real world land or metals or rewards or things that are real value to you, your car, your home, the fuel that you use, the meat that you buy or veggies that you buy. I mean, we're talking real world use cases of technology enabled payments and assets that are yours. And then it goes into many other things. Let's say you want to get a license. Let's say you want a license from the state around a concealed fire permit. The thing that's unique about this is when you log in, you actually have to, every single time that you want to do something, you have to actually validate who you are. And here's an example. So you go and scan it, and it creates another key. So you notice this little key here. That is a unique identifier. It's a derived or derivative key of the actual master private key that you got when you downloaded the app. If you want to try this on your own, like I don't know what part of the world you're in, but you can literally go It'll actually force me to log out, but actually maybe I should just do it. So the point that I'm saying is the system is very secure. If you want to create something, you actually have to verify who you are. And it's not just that you have a phone. If you're on an Apple device, it's usually going to link up to your face. If you haven't conformed to the face, it'll link up to a a code. If you're on an Android phone, it'll usually link to your fingerprint. If you're on a clear phone, it will always link to a fingerprint. But it's not just concealed fire permit. There's or firearms. There's so many things. If you want to get a license or a permit or a registration, you want to do hair, you want to sell insurance, you want to go into business, you want to be a pawnbroker, you want to, and like, there's tons of different things that you can do. And
You've
these are,
obvi yeah,
go
you've
ahead.
obviously put in a lot of work into this system, and I mean, there's so much detail in it, right? And I want to try to, for lack of a better word, dumb it down a little bit for people because not everybody understands how involved this is and how much this looks like a lot to an average American. This is a lot of information. This is a lot of putting stuff in. This looks like a lot of what I did when I set up a Google account and then I did the Google Pay and then I have my Google accounts and my emails and then I use it to log into other things. So what's the difference of that using something like that and maybe a couple other, maybe I have an iPhone or something else. What keeps somebody from stealing my information here versus like Google or Apple or Microsoft?
Well, when you're actually given this phone or you purchase the phone or however you come up with it, you can even just download it. You can go to Apple, you can download it. You can literally, there's life apps. So there's different types of life apps. I'll log out and actually show you what they are. But you're given 12 words. That's one thing that's unique. So you're actually given something that is actually representative of a key, a public key and a private key. And then it links to you biologically. Now, some people are like, I don't want my finger or face or anything inside the system. And I agree with you. But the reality is they're going to force that. Do you actually want to be in control of your finger or your face? Well, you should do your finger if you can. But do you want to be in control of the fingerprint and the assets, or do you want to put your assets into their database and then you basically are inside of their system, their payment system, their identity system? So in this world or ecosystem, this digital world, you basically can use derived keys that makes it so artificial intelligence can't follow you. So remember on this other hand over here, you basically have your assets and the systems come to you, not you going out to the systems. I hope that makes sense. It's the first time I've used that analogy, but your passwords, your apps, your data, your wallet, your health, your searches, your finance, any licenses, permits, registrations, all of that uses derived keys that are unique to you. You have provenance where you can validate that that was you, whereas in some of these other systems, you just can't. So, does that answer your question?
So it makes it not hackable, but then you're also sharing that information like with loved ones, or you have your group of people that you trust that if the kid calls and needs $7,000 to get bailed out of jail and it's all AI, where you can kind of secure it. And these are
Yeah.
people you know and that you trust.
Yeah.
And how do you control how much information and who gets to see it? I know that was something I was personally interested in, just because it's social security numbers. I mean, in Hawaii, Hawaiian Kingdom, they don't use social security numbers, but they're asked for them or they're asked to get them. And you know, as well as we know, that that is a way of putting us into a system.
Mhm.
And it's part of, being trafficked and being used and becoming part of the system that is having its strings pulled.
Mhm. So
So,
the net is you use everything that the individual is actually private. So an example here is you go over to, like, for instance, this is a good example of just a ton of different people, right? And some of them, like this is actually a gentleman that's sitting here with me. If I were to actually click on this to see a profile, we can see certain things about him. I could request more information, and this would send a request to him, and he could say, you know what, I'll share my vehicle registration with you, or I'll share my license to be able to carry a permit or a firearm, a permit to carry a firearm. They can share that as they wish, but when you actually look at an individual, you don't know who this is. You don't know what they've done. You don't know any of the details about it. Or maybe it's a vehicle that has, for instance, I know that in the Kingdom of Hawaii, there's big problems around, the actual Kingdom of Hawaii and its members or nationals actually wanting to be sovereign and not be in control of a state that says, you actually are driving on these roads, you're paying these taxes, and you get these permits and you get these licenses. And if you don't get these vehicle plates or registration in a certain way, we're going to impound your car, or we're going to take your license. We're going to force you through not just force of law, but the ability to say, we're going to push you through a system, whether it's colonialism or whether it's common law, whatever, they basically use the system to force the compliance. But imagine if you could actually log into a system. For instance, I'll even log into the Hawaiian environment and show you what I'm talking about. So remember, I'm in the digital world, but I'm jumping different jurisdictions and I have different assets. And for instance, let's go ahead and jump into vehicles. So let's say I want to look at this. So this actually pulls up a couple vehicles. Let's say I want to look at this particular vehicle, and anyone on this call can actually look at this license plate and say, I want to actually validate that it's insured, it's financed, it's not stolen, it's got drivers, it's got owners. If I want to be able to see the registration, anyone on this call can actually scan that and go through a process to validate. Now, do they get my last name? No, but can they request my last name? Yes. Do they get the actual name and on the registration? No. So the key is you care about things that are private, but you can disclose them as you need to over time. So for instance, if someone wants to see the particular registration for this particular vehicle, you can see. Now I'm showing it to you online, but if you're actually physically at the vehicle, you can actually do the same type of thing. So this is within a particular jurisdiction that I, as the individual, self-select to be a part of. Why? Because I want to be in an environment that understands basic human rights. The human right to be able to be private, to transact, and to travel. Those are things that we just naturally give up. But if you read any basic constitutional structure, it's built into it. Does that make sense?
It does. To me, it does. And I am traveling too. I'm currently in Waikiki from Big Island, so I'm in Oahu, and I opt out of having my photo taken. And I recently had my license updated, and it's not registered in the system. So when they go to scan my driver's license, it doesn't scan. Like, it caused a big to-do at the airport when I was headed here because their system didn't recognize my license. But I had
But
a boarding
the big
pass.
the big to-do is really just an inconvenience. So are we willing to give up our privacy and identity for an inconvenience? Most of us will actually sell it for a couple bucks. And that's where it needs to stop. It's finally, society's finally figuring out they can take my cell phone number, they can take my bank account, they can take away my ability to work, even though I live in the UK. I have my papers, but if I don't do this, I can't. We've seen this before. So they literally let people that are not supposed to be there legally, which is a whole nother conversation around, we're really one world and one people. But if we didn't have this class distinction and control separation, which really is a portion of being unfair trade, which is a whole nother conversation, then you wouldn't have these issues. I mean, why can't we just live on Earth, love one another, be kind, and have these basic realities of I can work, I can have an account, I can transfer value, I can travel, I can communicate. Wouldn't you say these are basic gifts that we've just been given at birth? And parents have a guardianship role, kind of like what you see here, where this is over taking care of an elderly parent.
Michael, there's 4 to 5 questions that are lined up. just so you
Okay,
know.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead and
So,
ask him.
what happens if a solar flare or digital outage? Is there a concern, or is there a valid backup? And then there's another question.
I don't have an answer to a solar flare, to be honest with you. I got no clue on what that really means. I just know that the sun comes up every day, and I'm grateful for fresh air and a body that works. I don't have an
So the
answer for
concern is if there's some kind of digital crash, digital
that. I think
systems.
in this particular system, not 16 years we've been building it, and different from a lot of the other chains that are out there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the comparison between the chains and just run through it with you real fast. So if I don't care if it's a normal banking system, which this comparison basically looks at normal banking entities. So, it doesn't matter if it's Venmo or Chase or Bank of America. Bank of America's gone offline 3 or 4 different times this last year. But the net
Yeah.
is we've actually pulled what we call a nuclear test, which is every system is gone. It's dead. It's gone. How do we rebuild? Can you rebuild? And the whole systems were able to come back up. So let's say that flare actually happened, and let's say it's a worldwide EMP. Okay, we end up getting systems back up eventually, and the data, and you just need really one environment. In a decentralized system, you need one. And if you look at some of let's see if I've got up. So our history is basically doing a very simple thing around a model that's super duper simple. You take storage and validators that are nodes that connect to phones that are the individual's identity transactions and access the storage. And when we did that, we basically built a company called Clear Center, and this company built an operating system called ClearOS Server, which Hewlett Packard Enterprise actually pre-installs on all of its Pro Alliance servers worldwide. So not only is it global, 150 countries, 86 languages, 17 years in development, 200, it was a 450 something thousand deployments globally at one time. It's 263,000 today. But the point that I'm trying to articulate is there's a decentralized backend that basically layers on a multiple chain environment. And I'll try and show you an image as fast as I can here.
So
So
if
this
everything
basically
gets
ties.
wiped out, if everything got wiped out, if we had a global EMP and all your information got wiped out, and I mean, we have a lot of digital information. I mean, that's how I do a lot of my banking, right? So it all gets wiped out. Are we able to get back our information with this system? Are we able to
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to communicate is we've actually done the nuclear test. We've gone through who does what, how, when, why, how's it rebuilt, how long does it take to come back up, all those different types of things. I don't know of any other chain from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Solana to Cardano. None of them have done a nuclear test. Bitcoin has done an amazing litmus test to prove that this crazy little document right here actually worked. So a litmus test that this Bitcoin white paper was actually functional and the cryptography behind it still works today. And some of the things that people don't understand is the mining and the mathematics and the algorithms, that's just a game to get it how Bitcoin's got out there to the world. And people had to actually pay a power bill and for an asynchronous miner over time to actually continue to win. Now, one thing I would bring up is last night I had dinner with a gentleman that's actually this W.S. Stornetta. And this individual, well, I won't disclose pieces of it. Maybe we'll come back on the show when
yeah.
it's appropriate.
Yeah, I
But
know I have more questions, but yeah.
okay, I'll stop there. But I hope I answered the question. I mean, everybody has that same problem. Here's the reality. It's all going digital, whether you want to or not. Your banking, your utilities, your travel, everything is going to go digital. You can try and just live completely off grid, which, to be honest with you, is probably not a bad thing. But
Yeah.
when you're digital, and they're all susceptible to the same things. The last mile, which is only going to get more strong. Look at what Starlink is doing. I mean, it's a game changer. We build cell phones. They have two different cellular networks at the same time. AT&T and T-Mobile at the same time. And the next versions will have AT&T, T-Mobile, and Starlink all at the same time. So the connectivity going out is not a huge concern. I would ask everyone on this call, when has the connectivity coming in been the concern? It's usually, did you pay your ISP? Is your Wi-Fi route, is it password, blah, blah, blah. It's usually a technical issue. It's not that the world is blown up and got this global EMP and solar flare thing. So,
In 90 seconds, can you explain how you are able to put a cipher wall between the deep state data, Palantir, and Google? I know you mentioned it early on that you could build a wall between the centralized AI tools and yourself. That was one question that Frank asked, and he did cover this, Frank, but I'm going to let him tell you really quick in 90 seconds.
Yeah,
And then Susan, Hawaii, and Ken, California. I'm trying to help Victoria because she
And
maybe missed that
Rosemary,
stuff.
yes.
so I try to do it on my hands, but I actually have a book because I think that things can paint a thousand pictures, if you will. So this basically is just looking at two circles and the arrows are just going in certain directions, if I can find it real fast. And I've got slides on it, but I think that this is, so on one hand, you basically have the individual, well, my screensaver is not going to allow it. So on one hand, you basically have an individual that's plugging into multiple systems, what we're doing today, banking, health, finance, etc. And then we're actually allowing, like if you've ever logged into your bank and allowed certain applications to suck data out, maybe you want to get a credit card, maybe you want to do certain things, it actually doesn't just stop there. Like what happened with when Trump came in and they started doing things where they were looking at different payment trails, they're actually using Palantir technology to see where it all went. And when you track all of those types of things, you can actually build a profile. And the net is you got to do the opposite. Instead of you logging in, allowing systems to log into central other systems for you, you log into them and bring the data to you. So you build your own reputation, you build your own payments, you build your own identity, you build your own AI that's tied to you. And some people are like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But it does if you actually have a phone that is built from codes and processes from you. And then the apps are all clear-based apps. And the apps actually tied to your data, only you. You're the only one that has the encryption key to it. And you layer AI on top of that to be able to then basically profile yourself. So you can actually validate who you are better than anybody else in the world. Even if you get a decentralized ID, you can validate who you are better. I don't know that I probably already spent my 90 seconds, but Palantir basically is centralized systems. And it's not just Palantir. Here, there's other combinations. There's Oracle, Chat, or OpenAI, and TikTok. The combination of these things coming together, and then you layer on what Palantir does. These secret combinations are literally going to say, well, from a private standpoint, you don't need to know what Palantir's doing and what Oracle's doing. But from a public standpoint, they actually, all of them, it does. So Palantir, who donated to JD Vance? Right?
Very valid point.
Who donated to the Prime Minister in UK? Larry Ellerson. If you're in Hawaii, you know Larry Ellerson very well. You know these secret combinations very well. And ultimately, it's not just the private ecosystems, but the public ecosystems that create the money and the controls and even laws that enslave environments. So one of the biggest things that you can do is get active. You talk about being red, like the red states that actually care about the county commissioners that care about the basic things. The United States of America's founding forefathers decentralized the United States of America. The states were supposed to be able to be empowered to do certain things. The states take their rights that are constitutionally given to them and they give them to counties. Let's say health records, voting records, all of land management records, title records. It's all, if it's not for a car, if it's for land, it's at the state or at the county level. So the point is we have a responsibility to do exactly what Raghu on here talks about with Ragunomics. You literally buy local, a local product, and you actually pay with a local currency. And if you do that, everything, it basically normalizes, especially if you do it using systems that are decentralized systems. So instead of something where someone can control the amount of currency that's created or the price of something, from a central system, don't do that. Use it with decentralized systems with true and correct principles around true decentralized systems, not Bitcoin that's deployed to a country that uses the Lightning Network, which is centralizing decentralization. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
I think it is. Why don't we take a few questions? I had some more questions that I'd like to ask too, but if we can go ahead, and I believe we have Ken up first.
Susan.
Susan.
Oh, okay. Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. Wondering, what system are you tied into? Are you tied with Starlink? And how does this work in tandem with credit cards? Because we're all a little bit grid dependent, one way or the other, unless you live in the mountains and you can completely homestead.
Yeah, so the first part of your answer is it ties to two cellular networks that are GSM based today simultaneously. The future, so for instance, AT&T and T-Mobile would be a good one within the United States. It works around the world in different networks. They're all, the Clear phones are actually all not eSIM, but physical SIM based. The second part of your question around the first part, I guess, first part of your second part of your first question would be around Starlink, and that's available on the next generation phones. As far as the payment side of it goes, you can either off ramp on into the banking system, right? So you can take digital assets and put them into fiat systems, which is really a possible taxable event, and you'll have other charges, not only coming in, but also paying with the merchants. Or the other side of it is you basically just stay inside of the system and you get more people that actually use the system. And the way to be able to get into the system is super simple. So, for instance, if I come in here and I say purchase, and I say I actually want to purchase one of these, I pop in a credit card, or actually say I want to buy it. I pop in a credit card, put in the number, put in the other information. It pulls it out of the USD credit card banking system and takes it and puts it into the digital side of it. So there's really an on-ramp and an off-ramp topic that we're really discussing. This is the on-ramp. This is the off-ramp. And these come in different. So if I'm going to log out of the system right now, and I'm actually going to go over to the login page, which is what everyone would see that hasn't set this thing up. And I'm actually, let's see. I really should have a better internet connection to the other point. So while we're waiting for that to load up, next thought or comment?
While we're following up, there was
Ken.
a question in the chat. Can your system override AI systems like Palantir, Google,
No. He already
Microsoft?
covered that. He already covered it. Ken,
Okay.
go ahead.
So my question is, before even adopting this system, which is impossible, the reason we are a captured nation under a centralized system through the fraud central banking system. Okay. Now the question is, first we need to free ourselves from this criminal syndicate in Washington. Okay. Your currency or your crypto is another scam. You talk about assets, Bitcoin, this shit, that doesn't work. What is real money backed by what? Let's get to the basics, sir. First of all, before adopting, and they will not let you do this. They'll say, shut your servers down. They can do whatever they want to do at this point. Your money is already gone. We are slaves, tax slaves, debt slaves, rental slaves, mortgage slaves. First, how do you free this country from this criminal syndicate in Washington, D.C.?
Your comment is crash, but it's reality. And I appreciate it. The reality is that's exactly what the system does, is it gets people back to real basic assets. For instance, people have already watched the fair market value of what people look at as gold almost double this year, right? And if you look at other assets, I look at gold as not even valuable. I think that there's other things that are actually real value. You've got beef. Here, I'll give you a real world example here. So this is actually this is a butcher that's 47 years old. Oh, not this one. Did I take it off? I must have gotten rid of it. Yeah, I trashed it. Dang it. Here, I can find it for you. But food, whether it's beef or lamb, boy, I need to have a better connection when I do this.
We get the tech
So
difficulty thing.
yeah, so but well, here I'll just find it real fast. It's right here. So to your point, the things that are real are things that we live in, our homes, are things that we travel in, our vehicles, are things that we eat. Those things have a real value to it. You can't travel with this. You can't eat this. You can't, live in this. Does it store value? Yes. Are we talking about just Washington? No. There's secret combinations all around the world. But imagine if a butcher actually says, we're going to go ahead and sell all of our meats, and Raghu that's on this call knows this better than I do. We're going to actually sell meat, whether it's lamb or pork or elk or bison or poultry, and we're going to do it with a digital asset. Now, I would argue with you that any asset is just as good as what it's being backed by at a full redeemable value. So at any specific space in time, can you actually get that asset back out? And that is where, can you go to the bank and actually get 10 grand that you put in there last month? No. You get tracked and traced. Two, you probably can't take it all out at the same time unless you make an appointment. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They're using fractional based lending, which you talk about, I, I, I won't even say it's just Wall Street or DC. It's really secret combinations from around the world. It's not just one country. They all work together with secret combinations behind the scenes to basically pull them all together. And really, what it comes down to is the faith and trust in a particular thing. And a lot of that ties to, as simple as it goes back to, can you live in it? Can you travel in it? Can you eat it? Those things are things that are actually real and value. And can you get it in whenever you want to? Can you pull it out, all of it? Or is there some delay or some switch of the hand or some document that says somebody else can put $1 in and you can loan out $10? Fractional bank lending in the real asset world is not real. This whole system, I would say the IMF, the secret combinations, these different groups, whether it's within the media or big tech or government or health or insurance or you name it, they're literally in many ways at the education level dividing individuals so they don't think for themselves, they don't understand it. And then I'm not even going to talk about attacking the body and any of the health stuff, but what I will say is there are secret combinations that have to be decentralized, and then the assets have to be real. Your comment is, even though it's crash, it's spot on because the assets truly need to be real assets. I would say in the cryptographic world or crypto world, 98% of them, including Bitcoin, is not really an asset that the world could actually put a material value on. Now, some people could say, no, that's not true because I mined the Bitcoin and I had to buy the asynchronous miner and I had to pay for the power for it. And all that's true, and that gives it an inherent value. But the perception of Bitcoin as being a controlled asset could also be argued as well. I would argue that, well, they buy it with USD, and USD could actually be created out of nothing as well, especially when you talk about naked short selling and things like that. And so I won't go into deeper topics, but there are answers to it. This is not the right forum to answer that, but the net is I appreciate your rudeness and your cussing, but there's a point where the reality is we're simple humans that just want to live a peaceful, joyful life and do it with certain rights. And that's what this system enables you to do. It's not that the tech is special just because it's fast and private. It's because of the structure and theories behind it that enable the secret combinations to not exist. And so transactions become transparent and honest and real. So you can argue that it's not real or whatever, but it's still early in the days of what we're talking about with the digital world and a digital treasury. And it really comes back to the people that are in it and their belief in it and their usage of it. The more it's adopted, just like Bitcoin, the more validity that it gets. So
True. And I was going to ask you, I know you're still sharing your screen. You have one slide that I'm always fond of seeing, and it's the picture of Kingdom, digital, and physical. If you could pull that up on your screen, and we'll move on to Rosemary, who had a question.
Yes, thank you for the information, by the way. But you mentioned that you could put in your birth certificate and so forth. Now, what is to prevent me from developing 5 different identities or a joint identity and so forth in this kind of a system? And what are the protections? Or can anyone hack it? Is there a possibility? Because we know that previously there were many systems that could not be hacked. And, you know, people do find out ways of hacking systems. So what are the protections here?
So I'm going to break your question into 3 categories. 1, birth certificates, 2, identity, and then 3, hacking. Hacking, everything can be hacked. At the hardware layer, at the software layer, at the BIOS layer, at the operating system layer, at the VM layer, at the physical layer, all of it can be hacked. The only way to be able to roll out a true digital layer for humanity is to decentralize all those backend components, the validators, the storage nodes, the way the architecture works. So let's say I took a picture and it broke it into 1,000 pieces and stored it in 1,000 locations, and I'm the only one that has the key to pull that back. So it's not like what Google does and Apple does. Actually, Google used data sharding. If you're using Gmail, you're using data sharding, but it's on centralized servers that they own the keys to. And you don't even own the data, let alone do you own your Apple phone or the data on your Apple phone. Or the point that I'm driving at is everything is hackable. So the architecture has to be decentralized, and it has to be in such a way where their key management and the key rotation and the key recovery, which the gentleman next to me is actually going to build the future of that, which is a whole other conversation. It has to be in an architecture that is not centrally controlled. And it is like 1,000 times more complicated to develop decentralized systems, especially when we're talking about 3 different layers around identity, around transactions and storage. It's very complicated. The identity side of it, your question is so brilliant. I think it's probably the smartest question tonight. I'm not saying that to make other people feel dingy, but it's actually a complicated question. Like, for instance, let's say that someone actually puts 2 faces on your Apple phone. Like, we actually had somebody here today that it's the first time I've ever seen that happen. It's a couple, a husband and wife, and they basically, when they set up their Apple ID, they actually did it with both of their faces at the same time. Like, that's just like beautiful, right? So they could both log into the account, but another person couldn't. Now, first off, your face inside of anything, there should be some lawsuits that says that photo that you opted out of, Victoria, no one should have that without your approval. And
Absolutely.
GDRP and the European Union went after that and actually won it. And the Pacific Union with DDPR will actually go after the same type of thing, but about your likeness and your face and other things. So your identity is actually something that if you build it right, you're building it with a reputation that ties to it. And I'm going to drop to an interface real fast. That's basically the digital world. I'm going to go to services and I'm going to go over to reputation, which, by the way, every one of the questions you have, there's a section on it here. This reputation breaks into 3 categories: the individual's reputation, the organization, like a business, or an asset reputation. And then the individual has the ability to say, I'm willing to share this kind of data. Maybe my text, I send a certain number of texts, I log into a phone a certain number of times, I move around a certain bit, I move a certain bit, maybe I hit different GPS coordinates, maybe I hit different Wi-Fi access points, but they can choose to say what they're going to share, which builds a reputation. Maybe it's around how many bills do they pay? What kind of assets do they have? The quantity doesn't need to be shared, but the ability for them to say that there's actual reputation behind it. It's the opposite of not the FICO score, which is Fair and Isaac, 2 guys that came together to come up with an algorithm that TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian profiles all your data, and then they run that algorithm against it to pop out a score. You don't own that score. You don't even own the data that they share with them. So in a world where it's decentralized and you can actually create your own identity and get your own reputation, you're going to care about this in a big way. So if you want to carry around 50 different phones, which we actually had some folks that said, you know what, we're going to do a test with this same thing. They actually put them all in a wagon face up with a charger. So they had one big charger. It was 25 phones. and they pulled them around in a wagon trying to build identity off of them. Well, does that identity have email? Does that identity have health? Does that identity have calendar events? Does that identity browse the web? One could argue that AI can do a lot of that.
Can they be physical though? I think that's the point, is can they be a real person? And I mean those
Yeah.
real points of contact. So if you had a group of hackers, and people who actually wanted to create a bunch of identities, would they be able to
So,
create multiple
yeah, so
identities?
that's really, really good points. And I hate to bring this up because a lot of you are going to get triggered, and I don't blame you. But they talk about this crazy stuff. Mr. Herrera and some terrible people talk about going under your skin. Nothing should
Oh
be
yeah,
put under your skin.
no.
Nothing should be injected into your skin. There's a reason why we have a digestive system and it works the way we do. We have skin and it works the way we do. We're God created, and people can believe what they want. I believe we have a creator. I believe we're divinely created, and our spirits are physically in our physical body. And it is a beautiful opportunity for all of us every day. But imagine if you can actually take something and put it on. And this particular something, for instance, with what I'm showing you, this is not just an aura ring. This is actually not even an aura ring. This actually communicates with the human body through yes or no questions in multiple different layers. And imagine if you can't put this on a robot and you only have 10 fingers, right? So you could go and build out lots of profiles and do lots of different things, but ultimately you'll end up watering down. For instance, you can only log into one bank account at the same time. I'll go through and show you a specific example of what I'm trying to articulate. So this is an interface, and I actually go pull up a deeper one, a bigger one that has more variables and more data points. So this is an interface that shows 3 different bank accounts, 3 different vehicles, 3 different currencies, equities, commodities, cryptos, rewards, bonds. I also have businesses that I've created, and I've also got contacts. Some of them are validated, some of them are endorsed, but the ability to build out a profile like this cannot be done multiple times. It cannot be done by a robot. And it takes the human element and builds a life around it. I don't know if that makes sense, but your question is just absolutely brilliant. I'm going to drop to the other birth certificate side of it. Actually, yeah, it was birth certificate. So let's go ahead and log back in. Birth certificate.
This is all
Nice.
very important info, Michael. I'm
Yeah.
loving it. I'm just telling you,
Good.
it's waking
Good.
me up to a way to decentralize myself. Thank you.
Thanks
Well, and
for
it's
caring
very
about it.
important. Yeah.
It's only as successful as people that are like, hey, I get it. I get it to a point where I'll invest 5 minutes to download an app. In 5 minutes, you can download the app, you can create a digital business, you can create a digital asset, you can make a digital transaction. All 4 of those things, actually, it's 5 of those things because you created that digital identity, all within 5 minutes. I guarantee it. And if you could invest 5 minutes, would that be enough to say, hey, I don't actually have to have bank accounts that are seized anymore? I don't have to have assets that are profiled every time I drive my car around, every time I go through the airport. The goal is to free humanity, and we're not going to do it one individual blabbing like me. We're going to all collectively do it together is the only way to be able to do it. And it's not just devices like this or devices like this, but it's questions like these questions, and then people saying, hey, maybe there is a better way. Maybe we can actually do this. Maybe we can come together. So I'm opening up the Life app. I'm saying log in. I'm scanning it. And what it's going to do is create a derived key for this birth certificate that can then be created, right? And the question is, well, what's the jurisdiction? And that's what goes back over to, I'm going to try and jump in here. Hopefully it doesn't log me in. Next time we do this interview, I promise I'll be on time and I will actually have a good internet connection. So
Michael, we need your cell phone number, so Victoria's going to need to share that.
Yeah.
Well, Victoria knows how to get me. We do a Digital World Town Hall once a week, 6:00 p.m. Mountain Time every week, like clockwork. We've done it for years. This body is more than welcome to join. She knows how to get people onto that. But what this is we live in one world. We are one people. And what she asked for with this image is actually very, very valid. Like we physically know that, hey, we got a physical world. This is a physical asset. And some of us believe in a spiritual side of it, but what we're all connected on right now is a digital layer. And so how does this digital layer get adopted throughout the world? Because it's like, are we just going to say, I would argue that every single person on this call, when they took their first breath, there was no such thing as the digital world. There was no such thing as cell phones. There was no such thing as
Yeah.
digital money. And it's like it's rolling out in our lifetime. Are we just going to sit by and say, well, it is what it is? Nigeria is going to steal your cell phone number. You know, South Asia is going to take your bank accounts. Europe's going to take your jobs. No, we're going to stand up and say, you know what? I can choose to buy local. Just like Mr. Raghu here. I hope Raghu's on still. Raghu should pipe in. He's amazing. If you haven't met Raghu, you should. I want to buy local. I want to actually support a farmer and support a butcher and support a veggie grower or support this pure water aquifer, whatever it is. But you're using a local currency at the same time. And if you're using something that's digital, backed by real world assets, and again, the world goes googly-eyed over Google or over gold. I could care less. You can't drive it. You can't sleep in it. You can't eat it. You can't sleep with it. None of this stuff really matters. The point that I'm trying to articulate is when you actually go through a process of saying, I do want to validate who I am. I get this life thing. I get the digital world thing. But right now I'm on iOS. I don't have a clear phone, or I'm on an Android device. Will you come to any of these pages? So basically clear.market/downloads, and it'll show you, hey, these are regions in the world. So you got a global union for the Asian, African, American, European, Arabian, Pacific. These are different unions that are already being stood up. Where you see a line like this, the system is stood up, and then you can actually use a Life app to log in. So these are different regions that are currently being built. These are different states that are currently being built. The one that I gave you the example of was Utah, because they have the most advanced laws.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. It's refreshing to see government saying you are free. You were free when you were born. It's not the state's role to say that you exist through a birth certificate. It's not the state role to say that you got married. You know, usually it's between a man and a woman, or a husband and a wife that usually have God in the middle of it, and they're making a commitment to something they don't even see or understand. It's like in this life to the next life, it's so many different things to so many different people, but it doesn't have a state in the middle of it. And for a state to say, we will just endorse that you are who you say you are, because we've got a layer 3 validating point that we get your driver's license, we validated your birth certificate, we validated where you lived, we see you physically in person, we took your photograph, and we put you inside the system, whether we know your social security or number, their profile and everything. The other thing that's beautiful is they're saying, you know what? Our data that we're collecting on you, which we're putting in Oracle databases, we're actually also going to say it has to be deleted with this many months. It's like, we're not going to be the honeypot that's going to get hacked next, because their stupidity of lack of process or lack of policy is going to put them in a liability hand. So there's different parts of the world. It's not just Utah. Texas is doing crazy good stuff. Florida's coming in. We got 10 states coming in to this amazing event. If you want to come, ping me, or ping Victoria how you got here. October 17th, you can see these states that are actually stepping up and doing this. But you download these apps, and then you log in with the apps. It doesn't matter if you're on Apple or on Android or on Clear. You can do a ton of really cool stuff with Clear. You can basically go to clear.store. You can buy a Clear phone. It comes totally integrated. There's support with it. There's people that will help you walk through it.
Yeah.
You can even get a cellular program with it, or you can use your existing cellular phone number if it's like on AT&T or T-Mobile. And the net is you don't have to do this all alone. If you want to do it alone and not pay anything, just download the app, click on any of these stores, pull them down, or go to your Apple Play Store. So don't even hit a web browser. Just go to the Apple Store.
Don't leave yet, Michael. There's still one more question. Two more, actually.
Yeah, so there's several ways you can use the program, get familiar with it.
Go to dinner.
And you don't have to have the Clear phone, which I think is great. What was your question, Rob?
Yes, Michael. Actually, it's a combination of two. When you were going through the transferring of finances, where you took the USDS and converted it over to gold. When you do that, do you get the physical gold or is it just a digitized version of it?
You can actually cash out and get the physical gold. You could literally have these assets mailed to you, or the real way to do it. And if you want to follow the Constitution of the United States of America, the original money is actually tender from the mint. And those things are actually gold eagles or silver eagles. Those are real tender. They actually avoid capital gains taxes and tariffs. So a lot of the crazy stuff that we're talking about, but you can actually say, I want to convert those assets over and physically get the physical one. And that's actually in a partnership. I'm going to pull up an organization called Alpine Gold. And Alpine Gold is like, it's not a jurisdiction. This is an exchange. Alpine Gold Exchange they have $140 million worth of silver and gold eagles here in Utah right now. And I'm so sorry for this weak internet connection.
Well,
But
let me ask,
basically,
kind of give you a different perspective on this. Now, you get the physical gold. Does it still show that, that you have the asset of 1 ounce of gold in your
you can
digital?
you can either have the digital one or the physical one. Never two at the same.
Never
If
both.
you get the
Okay.
physical one, your digital one gets burned, it's gone. So everything gets a digital twin, but if you actually own it, you don't need the digital twin. Unless it's like, it's a sheep record or something. The record will be there. That's another thing. You got to have the records of all of the creating and burning and selling and transferring. You have to have all that stuff available. But your question's a really good one. In this particular Alpine Gold Exchange, you can buy for 3,900 US dollars. You can buy a gold eagle, which is a 1 ounce asset. And I'm actually gonna log out of this puppy so you can kind of, well, no, I'll come over here. So you can literally say, like, for instance, this right here is from Alpine Gold Exchange. I'm gonna double click on it. I'm gonna go into the details, and you can see the value of this thing shifting over time. So you can kind of see how that particular 1 ounce silver gold eagle goes up in price. Right now, you would actually pay about $45 over fee to get a digital version of it. So the actual gold price today is about $3,900. So you pay about $45 to get a digital gold side of it. But what's beautiful of it is you can actually fractionize it. So I usually have silver and gold, but one of these little guys, what are you going to do? Bite a piece of it when you want to go and buy, a dozen
Scrape
eggs?
off the edge.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want everything to be cryptographic, transparent, honest for the whole world to see, but your identity is completely private. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I'm loving this. Yes.
I love that idea too. Yeah, well, and that's really where we're coming into a lot of conflict, is that what's real, what's not real? Is it duplicatable? And Rob's question, about can it, if you have the physical, can you also have the digital? I mean, you can have a record of it, but in the case of, like, the gold, can somebody use it to show that they have more than they actually do?
No. It has to be factual. Everything must be factual. Like the guy that cussed earlier. You gotta literally, you have to be honest and transparent around everything that you have, and it has to be real world assets. Otherwise, I personally believe 98% of anything in the crypto world today is fictitious / fraudulent / money schemes / it's just, they're not right. If you have something that uses cryptography and technology to enable the real world assets, a home, a car, these same types of things, I don't know if I still have it up, but these same types of things, and then you allow people to actually take those assets, and you can literally use, like, guardianship to say, my mom has these assets and I don't want her to be ripped off, but the world's trying to rip her off, whether they're trying to rip her off in retirement homes. I mean, Raghu is on this call. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's seen doctors do it. He's seen rest homes do it. He's like, this is a problem we're all going to deal with sooner or later, whether we're having kids or whether we're having parents. Sooner or later, we're either going to do one or two of them, or we're going to be the parents ourselves or die, or be the elderly type individual that says, you know what, I want to pass my hard-earned work to the next generation without probate, without some state getting involved, and without the lack of knowledge of these assets. For instance, there's hundreds of millions of dollars in every single state every single year that go unclaimed, like in every single state, and the state gets it. For instance, I know a guy that's got, he passed away, and all of his Bitcoin is going to the state because
What?
it's held in a centralized system. But if in this type of environment, literally in that case, think about all the stuff that doesn't go because people don't actually document their life. So on one hand, you could say you document your life, you have liability because of all of the things here. On the other hand, you could say you don't document your life and then you lie and then you die. Who knows if you had an insurance policy that could actually pay to XYZ? Who knows if you had a car title that nobody knew about, or a couple houses or some land? I don't want to be stupid, but the point is we got to take control of our lives. No one's going to do it for us. No one's going to do it in this generation. And the other thing is, if this is resonating with you, don't feel like I'm too old to learn this. All you got to do is download an app. And literally, I'm telling you, within 30 seconds, you can have your own decentralized identity. And then you can start actually learning. I want to buy $10 worth of this USD that these folks are talking about, to convert it to DUSD. And then I want to buy BTC or some other asset. I want to actually buy what represents this type of for instance, if you look at the value of this thing, what are we talking about?
I did want to ask you, we do have another person coming on, Bob, needed to give us an update on some stuff that's going on here in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor. Your experience here, like, we've super appreciated you coming on. Would you come back for us? Would you come back and
Yes,
give us
yes,
more
I
information?
commit.
Because there's more information we would love to share and more questions we have.
I promise I'll be on time.
Sure.
And I promise,
Yes.
I promise that I will have a good
Absolutely.
internet connection. So
Okay. You know how much I
And
take you
Rosemary
from.
wants something to put in the magazine, so I'm gonna ping Michael to get some data for her. So thank you so much, Michael. For I'm so tickled. I want a 5-hour class with you offline. I'm gonna drive to Utah and get it.
well, we're actually building out a private ecosystem where we're going to do monthly trainings in addition to the weekly town halls, which we'll do anything like we spend 30 minutes of just,
They hear you? Yes.
I think we're getting somebody side by. But
Yeah.
Victoria, thank you for having me, and whoever
Yeah.
invited me, thank you for allowing me to blab here.
Yeah.
I hope that it's triggered some people in the positive way, and we can actually come together as humanity and actually take our identities back and control our own lives instead of being controlled. Because if we don't do that, we're just going to be controlled. These secret combinations, they're not invincible. It's not that hard to overcome it, but we do have to be united. We do have to be one. And whether we believe it or not, whether we're male or female or black or white or yellow, we're all one family. And the sooner we recognize that and stand up for what's right, the better off everyone's going to be. So much love. Kia ora for those that are down in the Pacific. And
Thank you so much.
Very good
Michael.
close. Thank you, Michael.
And you're welcome to stay on. We still have we're gonna hear from Bob. He's got some news about what's going on in Pearl Harbor, and then Ragu is gonna be on right after. How are you doing, Bob?
Great. So I'll give you because Ragu is going to come on, and how much time do I have?
Just go.
You
have
got
15
time.
minutes?
You got time.
All right. So I'm a retired legislator in Hawaii, Republican, obviously. Served 16 years, 2 different parts of the island. I only tell you that because it sets up the story. There was a housing development on the beach about a mile from my house. I don't live on the beach. I live like a mile away. And these guys were going to, it's about 2 acres, and they were going to put an enormous amount of triplexes, like 23 triplexes, just stuff these houses in there. I'm retired, but they called me, can you stop it? So I said, well, okay, guys, let me see who the contractor is and what they're doing. Well, it turns out I look at the contractor, Golden Dragon. Who the hell's that? I never heard of it. So I dig in, it's not Golden Dragon, but something like that. I dig into who the principals are, because if I know them, I'll call them and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
The principals, so this is right around the time that it started hitting the news that the Chinese were buying property next to military bases.
Okay.
This parcel of property is 800 meters, I believe, as the crow flies, from the Marine Corps rifle range, and 1,000 meters from the center of Pearl Harbor. Victoria, you live in Hawaii, apparently, right? We haven't met. Nice to meet you.
I actually, yeah. I've indirectly been in contact with you before. So we have
Okay.
rapport. I actually have
Yes.
some of your signs in my garage still from last year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's me.
So thank you, Victoria. So I started taking into who these guys were, and they developed 1 million square feet of construction. That's not a lot. It's about as big as Aloha Stadium, but it's construction in mainland China. They're a relatively new company since 2019.
You're kind of breaking up. I don't know if it's your connection.
Oh, I'm going by the airport.
Okay. I know if you turn off your background too, that might help with the bandwidth so you're not breaking up. Kind of got you locked up. I can hear your voice now.
So, okay.
There you are.
As soon as we get past the airport, we'll be fine.
You're coming in
So
much
the
clearer now.
Chinese, these are two Chinese nationals are the principals of this company. They are both went to college in China, which means they have family in China. They grew up there. They went to school there. They're from China. More importantly, they obviously have family in China. The head of the company is a young fellow. His partner is a female, and she's also a realtor and speaks 7 languages. I don't know how many realtors speak 7 languages, but it's like this whole story is like out of a Jason Bourne novel, right?
That's
so
kind of what we're
get a
living
little
right now.
Yeah. So I get a little suspicious. What the heck's going on here? Hey, my spidey senses tingle. And I go down and I walk the site. I do some more deep dive digging. They are Chinese nationals. I call the guy. I identify myself, who I am. And I asked him a simple question. Are you a citizen? And he hung up the phone on me. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's the first red flag.
That's, yeah, red flag.
Yeah. I just said, I'm a retired state representative. I just got a question. Are you a citizen? Boom, hang up. The parcel is located right on the front steps of 4 Navy training ranges. This is beachfront property, and there are 4 training ranges broken up by geospatial. So if you look out to the water, there's imaginary grid lines and GPS and all that. And there's 4 training ranges. One's a SEAL training range. One's electronic warfare training range. One is a battle stations training range. The other's a ship maintenance training range. These are all literally out the guy's back door. Okay?
Okay.
2018, the Chinese passed a law that says any expat anywhere in the world has to listen to Xi if he tells you to do something. They don't say it that way, but you are still bound by the Chinese government wherever you go. So if they would tell him to put listening devices there, or if he's actually an agent, I don't know. You can imagine being in Hawaii. Everybody it truly is a melting pot, and everybody's different. And Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Haole, Filipino, Samoan it's not, you see them everywhere. We're all together in this, so they're not going to stand out. But I took the 4 training ranges are a real concern, and the fact that you can walk in Hawaii, you can walk along the beach unobstructed. No one can stop you. No one owns the beach.
Correct.
It's a unique thing we hear: native gathering and hunting and fishing rights. So anybody can walk. You have beachfront property. Your rights end at the shoreline, right? So strangers can hang out on your beach. That's
and that
the way
shoreline
it
is being backed up further and further.
Yeah, and so they can literally just walk down and put any kind of devices there. that they would need. With satellites and everything, you're saying, well, what could they do? Well, signal intelligence, they're right there, right next to the base. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
So I reported it to the FBI. And of course, Biden was in at the time. They showed zero interest. Zero interest. They didn't care. Well, it's
Wow.
not against the law. And that's the problem. It's not against the law. I did report it to Pacific Fleet. And at this point, I'm semi-retired. And I got a phone call from a Washington, D.C. number. I said, oh, that must be a fundraising call from the RNC. I'm not going to answer. Then
Yeah.
right immediately thereafter, a 471 number, which 808, which is the military. I picked it up. Hello? Bob, this is Admiral Samuel Paparo. Oh, wow. He's a 4-star. Right now he's in Indo-PACOM. So he's entire Pacific, all forces now. He said, we got your letter. And I said, you know, Admiral, I know it sounds kind of Jason Bourne-ish. He says, no, we have a concern. We're concerned. We're going to look into it. So for him to call me was a big deal. A 4-star to call a retired civilian sitting on his couch, right? Why would he do that? But I haven't seen anything happen since then.
How long ago was that?
That was probably a year and a half ago at this point.
Okay.
So he has since got promoted, moved out of the Pacific Fleet. The project is going through the environmental review process. They've had to make some changes, but no one, I went to the AP, gave her all my documentation. This is who they are. And her response is, what do you want me to do with this? Well, I think it's concerning. The Chinese are buying land right next to Pearl Harbor. Oh, and by the way, Hickam Air Force Base is right there too. And the planes, and Victoria can tell you this, they fly directly over the house, the flight path. So this guy has a perfect observation post, if nothing else. But nobody cares. I've tried to shop it to different people. Nobody cares. It's of no interest. Now this before, so I had an unsuccessful run for office this last time, so I hadn't been working on it for the past couple months. But I don't know what else to do at this point.
So are they currently, do you know if they're currently surveying, or you did report it, obviously?
I did report it, yeah.
I do know I am in Waikiki currently. I know there was outage yesterday morning for all cell phone and Wi-Fi for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, if anything. This was under the Biden era when I brought to their attention. And my perception, at least, was they weren't real tough on the Chinese.
Have you sent the information to DOGE or the current administration?
No, not yet. And part of it is because I kept getting rejected. So I'm like, what? Maybe I'm wrong here. But it seems concerning to me because that when Trump got elected in 2016, they passed a law that you couldn't take money out of the China without the banker, the guy at the bank signing off. You can take the money because they didn't want a mass exodus of dollars leaving China. So this guy came after that. So he had to get permission to bring the money and to build. And it may not be a lot, maybe $20 million, but it's a lot to me. But
yeah, $20 million is a good chunk of change.
But that's what the development will cost. But they build that. What is to prevent them from housing a family of Chinese spies there? I mean, seriously.
Very true. Very true.
And when I'm not exaggerating, when you look out his design back window or wherever, I mean, you look right out at the Navy training ranges. And that's where the SEALs train, and it's not smart, I guess. If nothing
Were
else,
you
and it's
ever
not illegal.
military? Do you have military in your background?
I was a Marine for 8 years, or enlisted force officer.
Thank you for your service.
Storm. Thank you. I did Desert Storm way back in the horse and buggy days. So
So what's the
So that's
solution,
what-
Bob, to get this
Yeah.
these illegals? What's the solution?
What do you suggest? Aside from passing a state, or it should be a federal law, but the challenge, and Victoria lives in Waikiki, so she knows there's a lot of foreign investors who buy property here, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Same on Big Island.
And there are legitimate Chinese investors who buy property.
Yeah.
So how do you vet that? How do you control that? I don't have the answer yet. And
I
I'm
would
welcoming
say
suggestions.
Michael's Clear OS, and then you validate the information, but
Well, let's see what Megaso
That's-
says about this situation. Let me see if
Yeah.
he's on.
Come on, doggies.
is
He's-
Megaso
Megaso's our
available?
corruption pillar leader. He might have an idea about what to do about this. And then Christian, I'm gonna call on you. So, from the DoD perspective, we can report bad actors all the time. Maybe, oh, you muted yourself again, Christian. Maybe we find some kind of government reporting channel that Bob could report this to, besides the ones that he already did. You know, there's many others. But what are your thoughts on this while Megaso gets his camera ready?
So we had the same problem occur at China Lake, where they wanted to build a casino, and it was right next to the base where we have obviously a lot of things going on because it's a naval weapons air station. The base commander had to speak with the city representatives and get them to stop the Chinese from building up that casino right on the edge of the base. So that was the way that they solved that problem. It lies with the base commander and the local community. So he needs to have the influence going there.
So he
So you
needs
would
to
want to
talk
sign a
to the mayor.
petition.
He needs to talk to the mayor and just tell him to
Absolutely. It's got to be
Slow
between
walk.
the base commander and the mayor's office.
But here's the problem, Christian, is all of the political leaders in his state, unfortunately, are all hard leftist blue. You know, he's in a quadfecta state where
I'm in
Secretary of
endangered
State,
species.
Attorney General, Governor, all of it is against the people.
So
Oh, it's so bad.
in that case, I would be contacting Marco Rubio's office, and I would also be talking to Pete Hegseth and get them to forward that to Trump.
That's a
Send
good
it through the
idea.
chain.
That's a good idea. Marco Rubio's office. Bob, I got connections with that route. So if you could email me, you got my email, and then we'll get you connected to the
Okay,
State
I'll
Department.
email you the whole package. I even did a video out there at the spot.
Yeah,
hoping
let's do that.
Okay, I got it. I'll send that to you. Let's see if we can get some action.
Did
Perfect.
you post it on social media?
I think, no, I don't think I did.
It would, if we can get access to it, you know, it'd be nice to share it
Yeah,
with
no, I'll
people
send it
within
to
our
you.
group.
I'll send it to you today or tomorrow. I'm on my way home with my wife right now. I pick her up every day. Happy wife, happy life.
Amen. Yeah, whatever
That's
we
one
can
thing.
do to help.
I appreciate that. And Victoria, I'll send it to you, and I'll send it to the email you guys gave me. There's a page on background. I did all the public information on who these two actors are. The neighbors told me they have money to burn. They leave pallets of. They bought that property, and then they had bought two little. Victoria, you know how expensive these beachfront houses are in Ewa Beach. They bought
Oh,
two
yeah.
of them. Even in Ewa Beach, you know, they're well over $1 million for, a shack, a 2-bedroom, single wall, 1955 shack, 1.2, right?
Yeah.
Because you're buying the land, not the
Yeah.
structure. But I will get that to you. and let's see what you get. If you guys can flush it up to Rubio or Hegseth,
We'll help you.
that'd be
We'll
great.
help you.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Absolutely, Bob, because we need no CCP close to Pearl Harbor. There's no way.
Yeah, no.
No CCP. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. The FBI really let me down. They didn't even want to. They didn't care. And the agent was actually a friend of mine. And I said, hey, what do you want me to do about it? Well, it's a shame. But
We got a question.
anyway, I will do that.
Don't
Yes.
leave yet. There's a question.
Yeah,
Sure.
Rob from Ohio has a question for you.
Okay, am I? Yep. Okay, I'm unmuted. Bob, consider the fact that maybe they are doing something, they're just not telling you about it. It
That
shouldn't
could be.
prevent you from going on and pushing the subject. But one of the ways to avoid a trap is to know of its existence, and they could be feeding them bad information too, which they wouldn't tell you if that was the fact, though.
Yeah. So someone else told me exactly what you said. They said if the
I think we're losing you, Bob. Which happens a lot here in Hawaii. And they will, kill cell signals when to control the medium, and control what's getting out there. So I don't know if Bob is still with us or not. We still see your picture, Bob. You can hear us. We can't hear you.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
There he
Back.
is.
I'm sorry. That was my fat fingers who did that. Anyway, I appreciate your guys brainstorming. I will send that material to you with the video, the MP4. It's all publicly available information. Oh, they were leaving pallets of Sherwin-Williams 5-gallon paint outside in Eva Beach. Pallets. And Eva Beach is a working class neighborhood, and we do have our share of crime, right?
I used to live in Eva Beach.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So they leave it out. Anybody can take it, and those things are $150, for that type of paint they have there for container. So I'll get that to you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. The brainstorm. I've been looking for somebody to gave a rip, and you guys obviously do.
Oh, we care. We care about Pearl Harbor. We care about every state, and Hawaii is one of those. Thank you, Bob, for coming on and giving us that update tonight.
One last thing. Aside from the naval base, they're right in the flight path, and nuclear submarines will come in that harbor, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they can monitor them by satellites, but if they come in under the cover of darkness, which they may want to do, I don't know if the satellites would pick them up, maybe thermal imaging or something. But we have nuclear weapons here. They're in the Waianae range, so if they were to load up nukes, these guys would know, right? Because they do the loading over right at West Lock in Pearl Harbor. So those are the concerns I have, the national security issues.
And you're part of our family now, Bob, so you're welcome to come every Thursday.
I will try. As you can see, my duty is to pick up my bride of 38 years. So I do that for her. So thank you guys so much. And I'll be back. I'm going to email Victoria the data.
And Ashley.
Okay?
Ashley, yeah. Ashley,
I'll send you
get it
my
to me.
email. Thanks, Bob.
Ashley,
and we're going to get Ragu up here.
I got
Thank
your
you so
email,
much.
Ash.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for everything you do, Bob.
Okay.
You have a blessed day.
You too. Aloha, God bless. Bye.
Aloha. And thank you to Bob for coming on and giving us that update. We need to be aware of what's going on around us and appreciate your feedback and your intelligence because, we can't be everywhere. Want to welcome John, goes by Ragu. Welcome to the Raft Town Hall. It is an honor to have you with us. Before we get started, can you tell us a bit about you?
Well, I'm third generation Italian American, born in LA. Mom became a Hare Krishna, brought me in at 7, sent me to boarding school in India to learn the Vedas at 11 through 18. Was a missionary until about 22. Came over here as an extension of a global, a world travel, and ended up in Honolulu, and was promptly thrown out of the temple, which brought me over to the Big Island and bought our house in '89. So I got into real estate, and I'm an entrepreneurial junkie. So I've done a dozen or so, a couple dozen different business ventures, but always returned back to writing social policy. The first of which was actually back in '94.
Okay, so you started
that
20
was my
years
first.
ago?
Yeah, so I just had my my anniversary, and it was a immigration proposal. The governor's race had it was a Republican, and he wasn't doing well, so he went after the immigrants. And I came up with a proposal that the university's immigration program liked so much, they said that if I get my GED, they would personally sponsor me at UCLA. So
did that happen?
I just come back from India as a Hare Krishna kid, so I had no GED, and I was 28, so I didn't qualify for any state funding.
Yeah.
And so I just couldn't afford to do it in spite of my best. So wasn't able to pull that off, but I will be revisiting that professor and see if I can reconnect. So since that time, I've just knocked out about 35 books on social economic policy proposals.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
And I think the first one will be coming into play commercially probably this month. So I'm very excited about that. And that's what we've been talking about, which is...
What's the title of that one?
That one is called Restaurant Row Renaissance.
Okay.
And it takes Restaurant Row Renaissance, basically recognizes a convergence of a dozen industries and market trends that are all coming together to create an entirely new era for food.
Which is fascinating.
Which is premium foods is the easy is the tagline for it. But premium foods talks to both the degrading our food quality is an understatement. It's really more about when I was growing up, junk food meant you got fat. Today, junk food is just various levels of how quickly it's going to kill you.
Well, and all the nutritional value has been removed from our foods. So, I mean, we have more food and GMOs, so we have more food, but it's food that has less nutrition in it. So,
well, that's on a good day. Less nutrition.
Exactly.
It's just how many poisons that. So what's happening is this is the so-called quote unquote efficiency of our food supply is based upon them not being able to provide the levels of freshness, and therefore they have to put in an ever-growing number of preservatives, fertilizers, insecticides. So we have the so-called quantity. Now for the first time in the last decade and a half, agriculture is no longer the most cost effective. So they have the large volumes, but they no longer have the price competitiveness, which is to say, if they removed everything that kills us, they could no longer compete. So the counterpart to that is that on the one side, they're being subsidized. If you remove that subsidy, then the cost of premium foods is actually price competitive. Now, we can't change those price subsidies, but we don't need to because the marketplace is already doing it. So the bulk of our subsidies were coming in large part due to the colonial powers that America used to have to be able to overthrow governments in Latin South America and Africa. And so we were able to get these food supplies. A banana used to be like 3 cents. So, when I was a teenager, we could get a banana for like 5 cents. An avocado was 25 cents.
Yeah.
So the price premium isn't just the cost of the U.S. printing out more dollars. It's actually the loss of that colonial subsidy that we used to have through sabotage, bribery, and manipulation. So as we lose our access to those countries that were subsidizing our food production, so too is the cost of our food. Then layering on with that, to try to offset those costs, the petrochemicals are doing two things. On the one side, in order to maintain their control, they need it means less. In order to have that control, it's too expensive to hire the people in order to have the quality. Therefore, they need a never rising level of petrochemical poisons on the one side. On the other is that everyone's recognizing that there is a clear and it's not unmistakable, but a growing link between the agendas so far outfield of food, whether it's selling more petrochemicals to farmers, creating an artificially contrived level of extreme desperate dependency on the farmers, or more recently, the clearly obvious, food is the new marketing arm for the pharmaceutical companies.
Well, and if it's natural and if it's not, contaminated, I mean, you can sell it for more, right? So you have a blueprint where this can bring about prosperity. And in a state like Hawaii that mostly thrives on tourism and imports a lot of it, I mean, we're not utilizing our land. How would your program transform that?
So in order to scale up local production, so the secret is really is in local production because of the community inputs. So local production can work when they're not competing with the I would say that the subsidy to modern agriculture probably runs between 25 to as much as 75%, whether that's in transportation, what to speak of free land, or the subsidized costs, direct costs to fertilizers, etc. So if those are removed, there is no price competitiveness. But in order to build out that counterpart for the local for local food production, it has to become a community effort. So a community effort is really just another way of saying a gentleman's farming.
Or gentlewoman in my case.
Well, I'm sorry. We would, in your case, it'd be more goddess.
Oh, okay, we're not going to go there. But anyway, yeah,
might be a better, more accurate. Trying to so this used to be an ideal, but we really seen with the increasing collapse. It's not a bottleneck. COVID was a bottleneck of the global supply chain. It's like, everyone's blaming Trump for the collapse of the global system, but it was only a question of time. Trump has sort of jump-started it at a time where we could most afford to do so. In other words, had we gone to war with China, back 3 years ago, we would have been caught with our pants down. But because there's been this progression of supply chain issues, whether because of economics or foreign policy, we've been gradually building out alternatives to it. So the secret to that is the community involvement that seems to be best captured by gentleman farming. And there's a cost and transition to it. And the government is you're just not going to find a politician saying this is a priority. They talk about food security, but it's always like third, fifth, down the road. So what the big, and this is what I was referring to when I said these industry and market trends have come together in a way that's never been there before. And that is that here in Hawaii, we have 10 million tourists, $20 billion a year, of which 2 to 4 billion is on food. 90% of all their meals are coming from restaurants. They eat. So,
Wow.
Now, alongside that trend, you have the Japanese, which are a primary organizational, commercial infrastructure force. Like so having one primary party like that makes it easy to coordinate. And it so happens that they're already offering local produce and Hawaiian made at the restaurants and their hotels. So we have this, we already have a party. It's pretty much one primary party that is already offering. And so if we just go to the Japanese and say, hey, just reprint your menus to say,
So are you referring to your American shopping party, or which party are you referring to?
So the American shopping party started off. So the American shopping party was buy locally made one day a month. If we got 300,000 people to buy locally made, then every store would carry. But we have 1.5 million residents against 10 million tourists. So really, the added leverage that we had here was nearly a tenfold of our own buying power, which was the tourists. So if we could have,
and that's just Hawaii. Is that the whole state of Hawaii, or is that just one of the islands?
No, that's the whole state. So we get about 2 million here, which, we have 200,000 people. Again, it's a tenfold. So the idea was just to have a knockout cultural, immersive cultural experience party that the tourists come and join us that one day a month to promote locally made. But I think food is actually a much stronger lead in, and then we can get into, additional locally made. But, that would scale our local small business, not dozens of times, probably more than hundreds of times, like maybe 1,000. If you're doing 200,000, you might be able to get to 10 million with getting in front of. So whatever those numbers are, they're exponential. So we're starting with food because what the Japanese are facing with a level of urgency that has never been there before is a growing risk that they may not get 10 million tourists next year against the products. The primary sales, what they were here outside the beaches and hotels and restaurants, was European luxury goods. So now we can go to them and say, listen, premium foods is the new luxury product. That $3,000.
Well, it's not guaranteed either. It's not a guarantee.
What's not a guarantee?
Food is not a guarantee. Like, you can trade money, you can trade gold and goods, but food, when it comes to food, that's not guaranteed. So what happens when, like the Japanese, and helping ship the products, I mean, that would be a concern for me, is that there's not enough food. We have more people, and then we also have more people coming in that are tourists. So how would Hawaii, in this case, need to up their game to keep up with the demand?
This is a beautiful question, because you're already talking about the demand. So Hawaii's been struggling since I've been here. I came in '83 and bought the house in '89. They've always been looking, what is the next thing after tourism? And you just hit it on the head. It's been food, and for some bizarre reason, we've spent literally billions, probably tens of billions of dollars looking for what is the next thing that we're going to do outside of tourism. And food has been there to the point now where food is averaging 3 to 5 times more than the cost of oil, and regularly 10 times. So, it's $4.50 for a gallon of orange juice. It runs, $10, $15 to $20 in Safeway, and at Whole Foods, the same gallon of orange juice is almost like $35 to $40, depending on the day. So we have the marketplace, and so it's always about a matter of production, whether it's for us or for distribution. Now, one of the things that politicians were running, Mike Abbott was saying, we're importing $3 billion of food here in Hawaii. Like, that's absurd. But he doesn't get that $3 billion represents business, outside foreign business that are making money off of it. So it's to their advantage. It's not to their advantage. The colonial model is always there to keep dependency. So whenever we talk about food sovereignty, colonialism begins and ends with destroying it. So as long as we take that approach, it's not going to happen. But if we go to them and say, it just so happens that the only product that is likely going to be left in the world that the tourists, assuming that you still get them, are going to be interested in is fruit, now we have stepped outside their territory of wanting to destroy food independence to we need to rev up food production. If you have gentleman's farming versus plantation farming, that means that we hold all the cards. It's not like the sugarcane fields and then they decide, who's working and where the food goes. The gentleman farmer does. And so Hawaii is offering an extraordinarily rare window of opportunity based upon the power players at need, in addition to the government, where the only solution on the table to help is premium foods, gentleman's gardening, and along with that, automatically we get food sovereignty. So when the farmers are the ones that are deciding where that food goes, then it's not us begging, the big boys to give us some money so we can scale food sovereignty. It's the farmer deciding if they're going to give it for export or give it to us locally, and building out that local community relationship will be the deciding factor at that point. So it's really about getting the food up. We have 700,000 acres, which would run anywhere between $3 to $20 billion, depending if it's at a distribution level or at a full retail level. And we say full retail because our model is based upon the idea of giving the farmers a much larger share of that retail pricing. And we can do that starting here in Hawaii because, we're not the Brazilian coffee farmers that only get $1 out of the $40 to $60 retail price that is won here in America. And at the best bistros and cafes, they're getting $100. For that same pound. But here
I
in
don't know
Hawaii,
about you, but a cup of coffee here, like Kona coffee, is still, $10. You go to Starbucks or you go to the Kona coffee and they're still charging you $10 for that same cup of coffee. How
the
is
only
the
issue I have is that
tourism?
$5 of that's not going to the farmer. So when $5 of that goes to the farmer, now it's feeding directly into. So under the colonial system, and this is where Trump actually called it right. The colonial model was creating that interdependency, which is to say they own 100% of the access to the market and control 100% of the production. So the Brazilian farmer never has access to the retail market. In Hawaii, we get to break that colonial model that has been the centerpiece of colonialism in every aspect of it, right here in Hawaii in a way that nobody else can, because we have the tourists coming here. They're happy to pay the premium price. The fact that there is not a unlimited, the limitations of it is its value. They're like, well, it's too expensive. And it's like, well, welcome to luxury. That $3,000 purse is such a contrivance. So the reason why they're having such a problem with European high fashion to sell to their tourists now is this, one of the biggest blows was actually just this year when Europe was talking about, disciplining China. So China said, well, screw you. And they just went online and said, everything that you guys are buying you think is luxury. That $3,000 bag is $57. Who's Iron Man? What's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. So he was very proud of his like $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 watch. May have been more than that. And so somebody posted from China, I think it was one of the factory workers, said that never even made its way to Switzerland. It wasn't even a pass through Switzerland. It came directly from China.
Oh, wow.
Our point is that that $3,000 purse is a contrivance, but having a consumer spend $3,000 a year, which is $40 a week, on premium food is almost an incidental. So we could be selling the equivalent of that $3,000 purse each and every year. So it's a high consumable. Hawaii comes in at the top of that market branding, and so the kickoff, and so the new model, because the tourists are eating there, we recognize that the true retail boutique of premium foods is restaurants. So we're all familiar with farmer markets. The only retail area that is booming exponentially as compared to the literally tens of thousands of retail stores that are closing, farmers markets are going up.
Yeah.
Well, the boutique of the farmer's market is the farmer's restaurant. And,
Okay.
There's 15 million restaurants in the world. As an example, if 3% of them joined us, that would be 500,000 restaurants in our little franchise. So the rollout is here in Hawaii. We want to start on the Big Island. Most of the locals here in Hilo don't know. If you ask them how many restaurants do we have in the 10-block radius of downtown, most will say between 20 and 40. We have 100 plus. Some people are, when you include food outlets, trucks, for example.
Wow.
So that could be between 150. Some people are saying 200. Haven't gotten a clear count yet. But the point is that we're a major, first of all, culinary center. We have 2 million tourists. They're already coming. They already go through Hilo on their way to Volcano. If they knew that we're actually a major culinary center, we could be scaling that with relatively little cost or time or effort.
So what would it take to become a culinary center?
So so that's where the franchising side came in. Like what makes it so? If we identified, let's say, 20 different kinds of genre or 25 different kinds of genre, a culinary center would have to have like at least a third, if not half. It would have to have at least one 5-star restaurant at least once a month. It would have to have, so here in Hilo, for example, we have the Kava bar, great bar, little bar. So you have to have something that's of, medicinal. You have to have something that's local. You have to have something of, ethnicity. So we'll be coming on what that would mean. But the idea of building that out as a franchise, again, 500,000 to give you context, Starbucks and McDonald's, which is the largest of the franchises, is 40,000 each. 500,000, which is 3% of all restaurants in the world, would make us larger than the two of them by tenfold, and all franchise fast food restaurants combined only have 500,000. So it'd be bigger or as big as all franchise, all these poison centers of distribution. So we hope to launch that on Black and White Night here in Hilo, which is November 3rd. It's an annual festival, and we're looking to see if we can turn that into a statewide event, and with the goal to make this a monthly and do so statewide. And if it works, so we have 3 components for added revenue for the restaurants. The first is premium food should offer 20, 50, as much as 100% more money, direct retail sales out of the store. But really, we're looking to see if we can scale online sales over a decade or a decade and a half to equal or surpass the annual revenues of the in-house dining as well. So we'll see if we can sell that with the focus to build out our farmers. And a lot of that is just the modern day cost efficiency of removing 3-5 middlemen. And so we might be able to actually, I have to go over the numbers, but it might be possible where we might be able to come in with premium foods at almost the same price simply by removing the middlemen and still allowing our farmers, our goal is to get between 2 to 4 times more money than what they're getting today. So that's a summary of what it is. I just wanted to second a couple things about Mike, which there's an urgency there that I think that he's missing. And that is that just want everybody to replay in their heads COVID all over again, where they told us you can't leave the house. And, if you do, then there should be some penalty. And it was really interesting to hear the confessionals that were coming out through the media. If you go to the hospital, you don't get treated. You shouldn't be allowed to travel. You shouldn't be allowed to go to restaurants. You should be ostracized. Now, these were a little unnerving, but they didn't have the ability to implement it. First of all, to implement it would have required legislation. Try to understand what digital currency means. It's not a digital currency, I'm sorry, a digital world means. So we've gone from an information age into a digital age. And so they're simply looking for the way that they're going to roll out that digital age. It's not if, and it's not when. It's already happening. It's only a question of how long it takes for them to scale it up. So now imagine that we have COVID all over again. They're not just canceling your social media post. If I remember correctly, it was 12,000 penalties and arrests in England alone for social media posts. Just
What?
Now, just imagine. I need to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure I read that right. But even if it was 1,000, but now try to recognize that they control your car, they control your wallet, they control the door lock. And let's say you break out of your house, they will now be able to shut down your interaction across the board. This isn't when. This is already happening in a number of countries, and they're rolling out an additional layer of features to that. So we're just now starting to get a small sense of that, but the full urgency hasn't kicked in yet.
So are we going to have to go into a pandemic mode in order for that to happen? And I do want to know, we have McGate,
just the digital currency, Trump's digital currency, where he's talking about where we're going to convert over to the digital currency. That's just a back door to introduce it. The point is that Mike is not a digital alternative. It's not about the advantages of a decentralized architecture is extraordinary, from proficiency to a smaller footprint, which means that it's much easier to run, to the safety because you don't have to plug everybody into the same system, which therefore allows them to run off with like 1 million. It was like 50 million. It was like Safeway or something. They had like 50. They just ran off with 50 million. That's because it's all centralized. So there's the safety, there's the efficiency, there's the smaller footprint, which means that it can be run off of smaller operations, such as local, quote unquote, third world countries. And it's comprehensive. That comprehensiveness means that you can literally duplicate your entire life so it's not digital. This is not a digital issue. What Mike represents is the Noah Ark of the modern day. It's the only thing that will save us when this comes down. It's not if, it's a question to what degree it will happen. When is it going to be? This year? It's going to be next year or the year after that. We are coming into the tail end of the full rollout. And so because he represents that, this will become the only deciding factor to where we're going to live. Are we going to live in California, or are we going to live in Texas? Are we going to live in Australia, or are we going to live, in India? So my issue with Mike is that he's a gentleman's gentleman. Everything's sort of like understated. If you were to take like a Buddhist pastor and mix him with Elon Musk, you get Mike, right? Like he's all hard, right? He's like this, that just happens to be a genius on top of it, and he gets lost into his features. But it's because he's that the good Lord has said, you're Noah. I mean, that's my take on it, if anyone wants to contest that. But we don't recognize the extreme danger that is crawling upon us right now. That is, it is as easy as getting on it's a little effort to go, get on the, that's what it is. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I'm going to be beaten up on Mike about it. It's like, Mike, I'm sorry. You're like, decentralization is really cool. The efficiency and stuff like that. It's just not, it's understating the urgency of it. It was cool 3 years ago. Now it is becoming critical.
And I've got Megesa on. He is our corruption pillar. He had a question for you.
Hey,
So I just want
Raghu.
to say that's a summary of the restaurant row, of me, and then of my sense of urgency and appreciation for Mike.
Oh, we have more questions for you. Don't go.
Hi, Raghu. Can you hear
Who's
me?
is this Megeso?
This
Yes.
is Megeso.
Are you the sage of their program here?
No. My question for you is, first of all, what you said about the United Kingdom is correct, but they also arrest people who are viewing certain sites. You don't have to only be speaking against certain things. Just by going online to certain prohibitive sites, you get arrested. My question really centers around what you're talking about, sustainability in the food. Our islands in 2010 sold out to the United Nations in the sustainability program. And I'll speak more of Kauai because it was our mayor who did it in 2010. And
Megeso, could you just talk a little bit louder?
Yep, and he brought the mayors from the other islands over, and they agreed to go under the United Nations ICLEI program, ICLEI, the International Committee for Local Environmental Issues. One of the programs in the Agenda 21 and 30 program was an Agenda 27 program called Malmo. They've since renamed that. But basically, it was about farmers would have to retool, everybody would have to go to electric, and the United Nations would control who's going to grow food and who's not going to grow food. And if you were not a certified grower of the United Nations, let's say you had a little plot next to your home and you were growing your own food, you might get a knock on your door from a representative of the United Nations saying, let me see your certified grower.
I don't know if I had an issue or
Certified.
There you go. Could you just repeat that, Megeso? You froze there.
There was a glitch.
Oh, there was a glitch. Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Can you restate your question?
Off, yeah.
So
you left off where they're knocking on the door.
They knock on your door and they ask you for a certified grower. If you're not, you got to dig up your garden and throw your food away. Okay. We have a situation.
That already started in Europe. They're already rolling them out.
Well, we have a situation in Kauai that's growing now. I just found out about it yesterday, where somebody in Kilauea was scheduled to be one of the smart cities, that they're looking to buy. Well, they already own a piece of land called the Common Ground, and they're just in escrow with other pieces of land. And they have this vast global project that is veiled, as you would, that the locals might embrace or people might embrace, but it's not the right path to go, because we don't need outside people telling us what food to grow. We have all the resources, we have the land, we have the people. We don't need the government per se. We don't need the United Nations telling us what to do. But this is fast growing because in that smart city concept, it's the taking away of the agricultural land for the United Nations to control the food supply, much like they're controlling the water now and poisoning the land and poisoning the air. So everything is designed, as you said, I believe, to poison us and kill us, unless we take complete control of our natural resources and our assets. So what you're saying is right, but each individual island needs to have a program where we're in total control of it. And this is one of the reasons why I'm going to be running for mayor, to talk about giving the people back the power, that the people need to control the resources, not the government. So there's a lot of these plans, and I know they're taking place on all the islands through this United Nations program. Until we win the battle, which I call a spiritual war, we have to be aware of what's taking place around us. And, once that they get their foot in the ground, it tends to grow. And by the time people wake up, it's almost too late to stop what's happening. So I would suggest that awareness is the key, and a program like yours, that would be the first one they'd probably try to attack. So
I would
kudos
have
to
the
you for doing
same
it.
concern, yeah, too. Well, and Raghu, you have a different kind of perspective, whereas Megeso and I don't know, you have a much needed, refreshed look at things. You have a different perspective, and you've run for Congress and Senate before, and you worked on legislation and local bills. What is your perspective on how we can use this as politically leverage? How can we use this to enrich the lives of people and free them? I mean, ultimately, that's what we're about, is we're about freeing the people and being self-sustaining, self-sufficient, and, knowing your neighbors, being in your community, getting your hands dirty, but also giving back to your community. So, and I know Michael's very much digital, and he has a way of bringing it all together very well, a blend of, you have your sovereignty, you have your digital, but you also have your physical. So I would see you as like the physical kind of part of that. And
We're
then
the other side. We're the other side of Mike.
We have this sort of political spin on it, which is Magaso is more familiar with, how that corruption feeds into it. And what do you see as being a solution to like the corruption that we're facing? And I mean, we're all from Hawaii, so we all know, the level of corruption, and maybe Magaso and I more so than you, of political strings being pulled here. So how do you get the food sovereignty and give the land back to the people without giving it to the politicians and the puppet masters?
Victoria, just come out of the closet and admit it. You're just talking about rebellion. How are you going to break out from it?
Let's rebel. Magaso's with me, right?
So where you guys are now is where I was when I was 11 years old in India. I caught the tail end of the British Raj Indians, who had the resentments and the operations and modus operandi of the British was just so blatantly obvious. I mean, it's 70,000 white men in the country, almost 1 billion Indians, and so how they operated. So my Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, he's Bengali. So as an example, I believe it was 2 million Bengalis that Churchill personally organized the mass starvation of, because they were getting ready to rebel. And he's like, well, we'll take care of that. We'll just we'll yank the rice. So these aren't just about matters of control. This is actually a matter of death. They get to decide when you die. So when I heard, and I believe it was 10 million Irish, I get it. I grew up in India. I was in Bengal. I spent probably about almost a year there over the 5 years that I was there. These things were very firsthand, especially. It was that generation, 70, went there in 76, so they were about 70 and 80 years old back then. So that was that sense of being overwhelmed with the impossibility of being able to take them on is where I started from. And that's where you guys are now. It's taken me another 40 years to recognize, number one, the good Lord's actually running everything. Number two, he will provide me the instrumentation to do so. Mike is not a genius. Mike is inspired. He is being directed by the Lord. He qualified himself by saying, I want to be of service, at the highest level from my heart. And therefore the Lord gave him the formula in order to be able to do that. And that's why I call it the digital Noah's Ark. Now here in Hawaii, it just so happens that we have all the elements that decimate their power of control, which is we have the land right here. We have the retail market right here. And we have a relatively, I'm not sure educated is the right word. It's more than the faculties. We have a sizable community with the faculties, whether it's Japanese or Filipinos or Hawaiians or the hippies, that is about this culture of food, earth, and food sovereignty. So all the elements are there. We keep looking over our shoulder. Here in Hawaii, we don't. We just get together. We're going to buy locally made one day a month. We have the relationship with the farmer. If some guy wants to show up and knock on the door, welcome to the Hawaiian family. Welcome to the Filipinos. Welcome to the farmers. And I really, where my faith really started crossing over, and the appreciation for local politics was with the abandoned resignation that I had, that once the big boy GMO companies come in, it's over. And it looked like that was going to be the case. But what did we have? We had Ruderman as a state rep and the health food store here on the Big Island. We had Tulsi in Congress, and we had Kenoi as the mayor. And at each of those steps, as they were pushing it through, there was the pushback, and just enough pushback so that when it got to the final, Kenoi was the deciding factor, but there was enough momentum behind him for him to say no GMOs here. And I was like, no, you're telling me that a $300-500 billion GMO industry was stopped by 200,000 people on the Big Island and a little party animal mayor? Yes, that's what we have here, and that's what we have here in Hawaii. Very few places in the entire world have all of that. That is the reason why this is not about economics. This is not about food sovereignty. This is the centerpiece for launching the globe. Okay, let me back up a little bit. My Guru Maharaj said that Hawaii would be the Vedic Empire. So that's the reason why I chose Hawaii. So everything else he has predicted has already come true. His chart, his astrological chart, is that he will save the world in its darkest hour. So like that's what so I'm not going on like I'm taking on the British. It's that the good Lord has his own plans. The idea of evil in the Vedic in the Vedic paradigm is evil's just there to bitch slap everybody to wake them up, and then wake up. You got to pay a price. You got to make the sacrifice. You have to earn it, and so the price for not making the sacrifice just continues going up until you eventually say, "I'm willing to pay. What does it take?" We are there. We are there now. So what they think is the end game to their final victory is actually when the good Lord acts. Your little assembly here, it's really interesting. It seems small, right? But everybody on here is so qualified. So you get McDermott coming up and saying, "Yeah, we want, how are we going to take care of the Chinese?" It's like, "Don't worry about it. We'll give Pete a call." It's like, whoa. The little, the little rebels, they're like
small.
National
We
reach.
stopped the super ferry.
Yes,
but that's so small as compared. Like we're taking on the pharmaceutical company, multi-trillion. We're taking on the food cabal and the GMO multi-trillion. We're stopping it. And the good Lord, it's not we're doing anything. Everyone here said, "My Lord, please show me the way," and so we're being allowed to come together. And this is, it's this is Victoria's refrain. Oh well, the good Lord, right? He's doing everything. We're on his boat. This is his journey. We make the surrender. Everything will fall into place. All the pieces are there. If we just start taking around this restaurant row, Renaissance. The Japanese have no choice. There is no alternative. They're sweating it every year. Are we going to be able to get another 5 to 10 million tourists? Are they going to buy our products? So now it's like, yes, they're going to buy their products. And if they don't come, it's not an issue because we're going to be getting 3 to 5% of them to buy once they go home. And once they go home, $40 a week, that's a $3,000 purse.
Well, we're putting Kauai first, and Kauai has never been conquered. And we did stop the super ferry back in the day when they tried to bring it to the islands. So
I'm a little concerned about Kauai because the GMOs are there in full force. You have kids. They have the kids there dying right now from all that pollution from the GMOs. So we will have one Kauai back when they're out.
Yeah, because when a long time ago when we were standing up against GMOs, a couple of our representatives went to Switzerland to tell them that we didn't want them there, and they came back 2 different people, and next thing you know, they were on their side. So that's what happens in the local political world. That's why I'm glad I'm not a politician. I'm like I said, servant of God, and His will be done. And we're going to stand firm.
So everything
against
is
it.
favoring the local now. And the reason why
Yes.
Mike is so important is because it's the interface. We didn't have that interface before. So we were trying to I mean, I was just blown away. So like the simplicity where he's just taking the box and moving it over another box in order. This is because of the architecture of his system is so much simplified. He doesn't have to he doesn't have a system that has to coordinate through 7, 10, 50 million other people like Safeway or Google. It's just between me and you. So he's building out, he's calling it the individual, but the individual is really the local community level.
Exactly.
And we are developing what the difference between colonialism and indigenous is that indigenous is about relationship. Colonial is about assets. We're not about assets. And this is, who was it? Was it Mike that was saying it, or was it you that was Victor? Somebody was saying this is not about the assets. It's actually, it's about us living. And that's what indigenous is. And that's what makes Hawaii also very special. The so-called hippies and all the fairies and, all the yoginis. And then you have all the spiritual elements of Hawaiian culture. Those are relationships. Those are the basis and interfaces for relationship. And we have that here. We just need to get together and party together with each other and then sell to our tourists. Because we don't need, what do we need? 20 or 30% of the production. That gives us 50 to 70% to sell and make really, really good money.
Well, you're hitting it because living souls can only contract with living souls and not with the corporation. So when we're dealing in relationships, like you said, with each other, that's the key.
That's Mike right there. He is rebranding. He is rebranding digital and legal between living souls. Because the entire premise of their legal system is based upon it.
Well, their
that is
legal,
not the right word. It's just fiction.
The legal system is not lawful. We are under the lawful system.
Yeah.
The legal system was created by them in the bar legalese, so people could not understand what was taking place when it came to contracts or court battles. We have to go back to lawful. And you hit it because simple became complex. And now we're taking the complex
By design.
and simplifying it again.
So Miguel, so you can't ask for a better campaign platform. But you got an economic plan, you got the digital platform. It's not that you have a digital, it's the only economic platform, and it's really by far the coolest digital platform. And then you have the community. They're ready. Everybody's ready. You say you're not a politician, but I will have to say you are a leader, and the day is now.
Well, I was in that corporate world for many years, so I understand politics, but I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman in that sense.
We know the world has finally crossed over when the day comes that you're the politician.
Exactly.
It is a new era.
It's the Renaissance.
And Hawaii does face unique challenges. And I know you had an idea of how you would safeguard like those personal freedoms using your system and, incorporating Michael's system. How do you see that evolving in Hawaii when we have such unique challenges like housing affordability, environmental pressures? Do you see putting this into play having an actual impact on the people of Hawaii or the world? Like
700,000 acres. Gentleman's Farm is an acre or two. We just got ourselves, there's a home for every Gentleman's Farm. We're going to have to bring people in order to cover that one. So the housing side is taken care of once you go into a gentleman farming. I mean,
we're going to have to house a lot more people because we're going to need more people to, farm, which, ideally we would be bringing Hawaiians back in to, create these.
It's sort of the other way around. It's not that we're bringing them in. It's that the Hawaiian way, the indigenous way, and they are the masters of this environment. They are the masters of it. They know it. It's not that we're like, oh, let's bring them back. And it's like, no, they're the leaders that we need in order to know how to work this land.
Well, the Moku system and the A'apua system is already in place, and that's all that didn't need to be remodified or changed. And once they started diverting the waters and messing with the ecosystem, that's when things went south. And that's because outsiders came in and destroyed what was already working.
Now it's just like, what do you need in order to do what you do best? We're here to one of my favorite biblical quotes is the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah.
And this is, I believe that if this is done right, this would be that for the Hawaiians.
How would you safeguard those personal freedoms?
Which ones?
All of them. Because I mean, we have a level of corruption here. Yeah. So how do you keep it from getting into the wrong hands?
Numbers. I mean, that's what we learned from whether or not you agree with Trump or not. Most people recognize that they were definitely, jimmying the elections, but they can only do that at the margins, 3%, 6%, 8%. Once you start getting into 10, 15, 20, 25%, it was just like with Hanoi. It's like, and here we're the majority. That's the other thing that makes Hawaii really amazing. And like, it doesn't, to win the Senate seat, to qualify for the Senate seat in New York takes like 7 million signatures.
Yeah.
Here you need like, you need like 2,500.
25, yeah.
Or
And
25.
honestly,
35 in Kauai.
oh, okay.
So it's just like everything is the good Lord has given us everything that it's not that he's given us everything that we need. He's spoon feeding us. He's babying us along. We just need to step out of like the conditioning that these guys are the bad boys are running the show. No, they're there just to wake us up. And it's like, Lord, what's next? So the community, the short answer to you is community, and we have it, and to build out the community. And so the reason why that one day a month is so important is that's the community coming together. And it's not just a cultural immersion. It's an energetic reset. This is Hawaii. This is Hilo. This is our farmers. This is our restaurateurs. This is our artists. We're coming together to celebrate. So it's a cultural hub. So the Culinary Center is just sort of, the side note. We're a cultural hub that happens to have great food, music, entertainment, and community.
And
So
the
if we
best motto,
become,
the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness.
Wow. I think right there, that's the logo. That's the logo.
write it down.
That's the Hawaii state motto.
Is it?
Yes.
That's
Write
the
it down.
logo. Somebody got it right. Amen.
So by using the island as a model for sustainability and for America, because I mean, we kind of already have the whole buy local, going, buy local, support local. What would you say to everyday Americans who want to get involved now? They don't want to wait for this to come out, or Hawaiians, it's like, okay, let's go. Ready, set, go. Let's go.
One word. Party. Party together. One day a month, you come together, you party. The farmers are selling their foods to the restaurants. So it's like really interesting. So like right now we have the Chinese and they're like, well, we're going to screw your farmers over, Trump, right? Well, if those farmers had 10%, what to speak of 20 or 30% of their food going to the local community, trying to do whatever they want. They're not dependent. So this model of, first of all, this model of farm to table was just ingenious marketing on the one side. It's not marketing, actually. I'm talking, it's they would call it corporate efficiency. You just cut out 6 or 8 middlemen on the one side. On the other, you have the direct relationship. It's about that relationship. They have that relationship there. And so there's just a lot more money now for every party involved. But it's not about the money, and it's not about the farmer, and it's not about the retail. It's about the community. You have to have that community thing. And so that's where I realized is the franchise. India has 1.5 million farms. And I forgot, it's hundreds of thousands of restaurants. And start building that out. the reason why I say India is because I know India. Like the Hare Krishnas, like, you know, they could roll this out in India with the Japanese. Japanese take care of the logistics and quality because they have a very strong presence there, and the Indians, the Hare Krishnas would sell it. Like, I know we could do India in a year. So it's not about us fighting them. It's that the good Lord has is going to allow us where the rewards of his gifts, and they will simply become irrelevant. And this was really sort of the punchline for Gandhi. It's like, we don't necessarily need to fight the British. We're just going to make our own clothing. We're going to grow our own food. It's going to be local. That's the reason why the spinning wheel sort of personified that, to spin your own cotton. Like, we don't need, and so it's not that we need to get Americans on board. This is the Lord's, it's the golden age. It's the beginning of the golden age. Everybody talks about it. Well, this is it. And so they'll automatically take. So we simply honor what we have here, and the celebration, the party will just explode.
All right. And one last question before you go. Will you come back
Definitely
to our town
not.
hall?
No, I'm an
Is it that
Italian.
bad?
Like, the last thing I want is a bunch of people that are going to just sit there and agree with me listening for an hour.
Well, and I was going to ask, does anybody have any questions? I know it's getting late for people on the East Coast. Over here in Hawaii, I mean, my coffee's still kicking a little bit, so we can have questions. It looks like Ken, I'm going to ask you to unmute and bring you up.
Ken, I'm originally from Punjab, India, in Amritsar.
Namaste, Maharaj ki jai ho.
So Bengalis and Punjabis were the main freedom fighters in India, as you talked about the Bengalis.
Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yeah, INA, the founding of Indian National Army. So anyway, my question at this point is, what is happening beside Hawaii? So Trump has, with the tariffs, pushed our farmers into bankruptcy, basically. And that is shifted China buying from Brazil and other soya beans, and then we have now today hearing a bailout package of 14 billion.
I'm sorry, just one thing. You did something that changed your volume. So if you can go back so we can hear you a little bit better, and also talk a little bit slower.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my question is not Hawaii. The farmers that had been all brought to the brink in the United States on the soybean and the corn and the potatoes, that China has shifted their buying from China to Brazil. So there is a bailout package. How are we going to get our farmers? They are going into bankruptcies if they're not bailed out. They're grabbing the land. Basically, JD Vance has a company behind the scenes buying farms in auctions. So the globalists are on attacking the farmers. And it happened in Punjab too, if you're aware. They unleashed the floods from Bhakhara Dam to destroy the farmers so they can grab it, the Andanis and the Ambanis over there, okay? So how do we handle all these, the syndicate that is going over the world, going after the farmers and the farming land?
Ken, you're forcing my hand here. The big conspiracy that I didn't want anybody to know about. So
Here it
you being
goes.
from India, you know what a prominent the access that the Hare Krishna movement has there. I mean, we can call it the prime minister, almost at will. So looking at that, I forgot what the number is. There's 5 million farmers. There's 1 million to 1 million. I'm just trying to remember what the numbers are. Farms. They're making less than $2,000 a year. There is $1 trillion worth of assets and capital that the Indians abroad have. So if we can get the Indians abroad to contract guaranteed purchases at premium prices, this would provide India. This would double. So the GDP for India, I think, is 2.5 trillion. I believe it was either 1.5 trillion or a doubling of India's GDP if the Indians were willing to buy sattvic food of the mode of goodness directly from India. So, Sri Lanka, what's the new name now? That was the 1970s name, Sri Lanka. What was it? What's the new, anyway? So they tried the organic, but they never had the counterpart, right? So the colonials, they got it right. Like, we got the retail side, we got the production side. The Indians can do that immediately. So the Japanese take care of the logistics and quality. The Indians provide the numbers. 500 million farmers. And we're going to take their income from, I think it's like 17 or 1800 a year. We want to get that to 6,000 to 8,000. And we're going to convert those. I think they have like 10-acre lots right now. We want to convert those into about 3-acre lots. And they will now have their, we're there to guarantee their income. That's what the Indians abroad are going to, and I'm used to, are you familiar with the Hare Krishna Hare Ram and the life membership?
Yeah.
We were going around asking Indians to give the equivalent of $100,000, and they did. Like, it's like getting them to agree to buy, Sudfig food from their farmers as a dharmic thing, in addition to a national thing. They can do it. Once it does it, and we could do this in a year in India. I mean, I say that based having traveled all over India as a preacher, and just seeing how the Indians work and the devotees, and then having worked and preached with Indians here in the West. So again, all the pieces are in place. Once we do that with India, we'll be able to duplicate that around. The Indians themselves would duplicate it. So we'll get Americans to do their counterparts. We'll get we'll get the French to do their counterparts. It's just building out. It's just, all this is that we're communities, and we don't recognize our community because they've walled us off, and so we've developed this level of dependency. Like, oh, what are we going to do? We're just going to go and say hello to each other. And it's like, I am happy to pay a premium price for the service that you're offering. And if I do, my community expands, my nation expands, my quality food expands. The cabal globalists, they become irrelevant. They just fade away. They're the darkness. The light is love, and love finds its venue in relationship. So India's I'm simply trying to get enough credibility and enough resources to make my way to India, because once we get to India and we build that relationship with the Indians around, because they're the primary economic force in most of the countries that they are working in. Here in America, they're like the CEOs of Coca-Cola and Google, and the list goes on. And they're the insurance agents and the doctors, and again, the list goes on. And so it's like, guys, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take 10% out. You're going to have to take care of your farmers in India, and you're going to have to you're going to have to pay that price to the farmers here. And this isn't we're not buying food. We need to build our relationship. You'll get this, Ken.
No,
So
I
it's
got
really,
the India part, I got it. But my question is, what's happening in the US to the farmers, which is, consolidated growth of growing soybeans and corn, certain crops, and they are decimated by this shift. And there is a bailout, but there is also bankruptcies that they're trying to grab the land another way around. But how do we, diversify the agriculture within the entire United States away from this globalist corporation?
50 million Americans chipping in $100. How much is that? Anyway, I mean, 50 million Americans coming together, we can bail the farmers out. We could do it. We could do it literally in 30 days. See, we keep thinking we need the government to do the bailout. We don't. Where does the government get the money? It gets it from us. So the government has convinced us that we need them in order for us to be able to work together. We don't. And not the primary reason, it's a series of elements. Like, I mean, they try to talk about, working together in India, but there's just so many logistical considerations that weren't in place. I mean, I really appreciate what the Chinese did with Hingmu, door to door. It's going directly from factory to, these small orders of like, $50, $100. They built out the infrastructure for that direct connection. And so if we do that, 50 million, I think Trump could get 100 million people. Everyone pitches in $100, $200. Will somebody do the numbers there? I think it's like 3 times more money than they would need for the bailout. And the farmers are going to now, so this is what I wanted to actually get to. What we're really about is goddess earth, goddess cow, the goddess mother, the goddess wife. So really the only reason why the so-called globalist or whoever you want to point to has been able to work is because they've managed to figure out how to separate us from goddess.
Yeah,
All we have to do is go and honor goddess, and then all this prosperity will be there. So when we're going there to help the farmer, it's not an economic issue. We need to recognize we're doing this as a sacrifice and a bakshish to Bhumi Devi, right?
No, I got it, but Raghu, no, there is a question. When Mughal Empire ruled India, when Guru Gobind Singh had to free these people, and
Ken, just
Banda Singh,
restate that sentence again. I didn't understand anything.
It's Rob's turn. It's Rob's turn.
no, okay, I know I don't want to take it too far, but the land has to be, you say 3 acres you want to bring down there. You are talking about land distribution to that level from a large farmer to a small farmer? Because how do you create, because if you were the depression cycle, agroeconomy employed 70% of the people. So that's where we should go. All this technology is eliminating jobs. So we go back to the agroeconomy, say, and distribute the land. How are we going to do? Like I was talking about Banda Singh Bahadur, after Guru Gobind Singh, he's the one who made us farmers in Punjab, who grabbed the land from the rich, distributed it, and make everybody farmers to flourish and created an empire. So how are we going to take this land and distribute among ourselves?
Ken, you're a genius. This is so much more sophisticated than what most people are capable of thinking of. So we have about 700 to 1 million acres in suburbs and cities. We have miles. We have 18 million miles of farmland. So in terms of money, once we've converted that farmland into villages, it's not about them getting 3 acres. It's about making townships, villages, real villages. And so that acre in India is going to go from $10,000 an acre to $30 or $40 or $50,000 an acre. We would be able to, right now, India has, if I remember correctly, about $19 trillion worth of assets. I think we could get that up to 30 and possibly double that. So it's just all the prosperity is there with the land, with the goddess factor. But we have to do it not as a matter of financial commitment. It's we need to be of service to the land, to the cows, of which the farmers are the priests of. They are the high priests that we need to help. We need to be there for them. Once we make that commitment, all these other so-called complicated issues just dissipate.
All right, and we got Rob on deck. You had some questions, Rob. And anybody else, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Chat is currently disabled, so I do not see any chats coming through to ask questions.
Well,
Go
in
ahead,
Ohio, my section of Ohio, we call it the Amish. They're like the farmers that are down. I don't know how much you know about Amish. So I'm very familiar
They're the
with
saints
what
of
you're
farmers.
Yes.
They are the what is it? Who's anyway? They're the saints of farmers. They are the fantasy. They are the future. There's going to be nobody else is going to be able to function. Everybody else is imploding except for them. They're it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the family farms, what's killing them is first property taxes and then inheritance tax, where they can't afford to pay $4 or $5 million for 200 acres when farmers don't make that kind of money. And I think the government should be
Hawaii,
able to
they do.
What's that? In Hawaii?
Oh, they're supposed to be in Hawaii. They're not,
Well,
but we're, we got to track that money train down.
but they've improved the land, and now the governments are coming in and basically breaking them. Where the only good one, or the only ones able to keep going, are the corporate farming facilities, and they're junk. That's cheapest quality you can get. But yeah, I see exactly what you want to do. So please make it happen.
The make it happen is nothing. So the good Lord has forced our hand that we have to work together. So that relationship that I keep referring to is called an ecosystem. Once that ecosystem is put into place, so that the American Shopping Party was based upon the idea of getting 15% of the local people of any given area. So here in Hawaii, that would be 600,000, showing up to buy locally made one day a month. For California, that's 6 million. Nationally, that's 50 million. Now, under Trump, I believe that we could get 100 million people to say, I'm going to be there for our small businesses. I'm going to be there for our farmers one day a month. I'm going to take, our goal was to get a minimum of 5% of people's monthly cash flow to go towards local and small business, which means that if you're making $2,000, that would be $100. And if it was twice the price to buy locally or American,
it's usually cheaper to
it
buy
can
locally.
be. It will be. I mean, given the way the global supply chain is collapsing, it's not that it'll be cheaper. It's going to be the only supply there. But the point is that even if it was double, the actual cost out of pocket is $50 for 5%. You know, and if I don't know how much we're spending, but if our consumption, we're a 25 trillion economy, $24 trillion economy. If 5 trillion of that is, and we're going to take out like 70% of our economy is consumption based. We are deciding who gets the money 70% of the time. We have the power. Every dollar is a vote. That was the idea of the American Shopping Party. So if we get this 100 million people, you know, they chip in, we can bail out the farmers. But more importantly, we get to decide who's the government. At 100 million, that's the deciding vote for every seat in America. We get 125. I think Trump would be able to get 125. So when you say the government, you actually mean your vote that's not been happening. Therefore, they get to make decisions that you don't want. Trump has showed us you get past that 10%, what to speak of 15% margin of corruption, then we're going to say
that's revolution. Then
it's not it's revolution for those that have been conditioned to think that we don't have power. All it is just another day at the office once we're all working together.
Yeah, as long as we can stay together, that's the thing.
So the American Shopping Party was based to find what do we have in common. So our first principle was come together one day a month. The second principle is we only do the things that we can all agree. So the idea was to find projects. So 50 million people planting 20 trees is $1 billion. Is it $1 billion or $500 million? Or is it $2 billion? Anyway, that's $1 billion trees.
We need to work on your math.
I do need to work on it. But the point is that it took them 2 decades to take out that many trees. We can plant that many trees in a single afternoon. That's our power. Chipping a couple $100 1 month. We've just taken care of 50% of the cost of education for all of the kids, for 2 years worth of education for all the kids that can't afford it. We get together, 50 million, 100 million. We're going to take care of our vets this month. We don't need it. We're the government. The government's simply there in the excuse that we don't know how to work together, which was actually a fact 100 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago. The technology is all there for at the local level. So that's really just it's not even so much that this is the revolution. It's just where it's the state of technology. The faculty, that was the word. The faculty is there. People didn't have the faculty before. The faculty is there. Like the sense of know-how of how to go about doing it. We've actually built out so much of the infrastructure is all there. Like all we need to do now is just formalize it. That was the idea of the American Shopping Party. 50 million people. We're going to be there for small business. We're going to be there for our artists. We're going to be there for our farmers. And so the restaurant row is simply to build out the infrastructure because people loved it when I came out with the American Shopping Party. I just didn't have anything to plug them into. The restaurant row put in the infrastructure, and then I'm going across country, and we will be reinstituting the American Shopping Party. And we are not there to put candidates in office. We're there as a voters' union. We're going to take these 5 points. In this case, it's farmers. The farmers are going to get 1 to 3% of every budget. And
so you'd be shrinking government too, wouldn't you? Since we wouldn't need as much of them.
So it's not so much that we're actually shrinking government because the government is actually not doing the job. People don't realize it. We are spending, what is it? We are spending $3.5 trillion at the local and county level. It's either $3 or $5 trillion at the local county level. We're spending $7 trillion, almost it's like $6.5 trillion at the federal level. And then we have like another $3.5 trillion of what do they call that? Government organizations,
Government
NGOs.
oversight.
Yeah, so it's like we're spending like 14 trillion a year, and we
How much
have
is that
like
per
more
person?
homeless every year. Every year we're spending that. So it's not we're shrinking government. Government doesn't work. If we double the government's budget to $30 trillion, it wouldn't improve anything. They've lost their ability to be able to function. And so before they actually were able, they had the economies of scale, they had the greatest access of expertise, etc. All the technology's changed. We have it here right at the local level. It's not that we're making it, we're filling in what they can no longer do.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is really getting down to like the, precinct or local community level and giving them the power back. Yeah. That's what I'm getting from this.
They're getting their money from us. We're the ones spending $2,000 a month each. Where do you want to put it? Are you ready to put 5% of that, which is going to cost you 2.5% more than what you would normally spend anyway, one day a month? Our economy is so massive that we only need to add like 4% or 6% more to have 100% employment to the local national economy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, no other people in all of history have had this much power. It's there in our dollar, it's there in our vote, it's there in our technology, it's there in our faculties, it's there in our sense of common cause and community. None of this has ever been in play. It's all there at the same time. That's the reason why if you guys want, we can launch the American Shopping. That's the answer. American Shopping Party. We're going to buy locally made one day a month. Local American is the term. And we only need to get big enough for, I don't know, the guy that was on here that said he could take it to the Secretary of War. You get an American Shopping Party to Trump, he'll make it happen in 48 hours. He'll get us 50 million people in 48 hours to buy local American. So the media wants to convince us that they're running the show, and the bankers want us to, convince us that they're running the show, and the politicians want to convince us that, and China wants to convince us that no, the American consumer decides everything for the entire world on almost a monthly basis. It's never happened before. And the scary part is that we're about to lose it. Now, we are entering the biggest buying, selling season of the year in the world. If we could get Trump to call for local American on the first Friday of the next 3 months or next 4 months, the world as we know it will be
starting with exactly opposite of what they did during COVID. They closed down all the local shops and told you to go to the big box shops.
Why?
Because the box companies complaining about it.
Because they weren't set up with what do you call it? Online sales.
Shopping.
Yeah. So we could be buying the same food from those. So this idea of 3% of getting the 10 million tourists to sort of gradually buy a mail order. That was the word. Well, we could get 50 million Americans to say, I'm ready to buy a mail order from our local vendors. Then they can shut the businesses down as much as they want, and they can still operate because it's not a retail operation anymore. It's the equivalent of a mail order business, which can be done from almost anywhere. Everything is there. And I said it because I've been doing this. So when I left school at 18 years old in 94, I was, off to, preach Krishna consciousness, but I was also there to take out the British and the colonial powers. You're getting the culmination of that. And I've never seen all the elements just coming together a little bit. Why? It's the golden age. The time is here. So one of our disabilities is we've been so conditioned from a lifetime of thinking that they're running the show.
Yeah.
They're not. They're doing
the Constitution doesn't say the government, it says we the people.
The problem isn't them overturning that. The problem is us not actually acting on it.
Yeah.
I agree. 100%.
All right.
And when we act on it and when we bring it together, that's where our power is. Yeah. Because there's more
American Shopping Party. Oh, let me ask you this. Okay, how many of you are willing to buy local American, buy locally made here in Hawaii 1 day a month on the first Friday?
Oh, we just talking Hawaiians or everybody?
Like your state.
You forget
Yeah.
about it. You are
I
you
mean, if
ready to
every
buy
state rolled out,
local Hawaiian 1 day a month on the first Friday?
Well, it's something I need. Yeah.
No, 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 no.
like you would do
Make
the
the
majority
commitment.
of your shopping. Like you would
Make
go
that
do your
commitment.
shopping.
We're
Yeah.
not willing to make the commitment. That's on us. That's not on them. This whole idea of cheaper prices, this is the mass corruption. So we get it when politicians are paid money to vote the wrong way. Well, this so-called lower prices, which are costing our jobs, our health, it's killing our pets and making our babies sick coming out of China because there's no standards. The reason why one of the primary reasons why they have things offshored is because then we have no longer the ability to control and dictate the terms of engagement for those businesses. Once they're here, we can go and beat up, pound on their front door. That's the reason why it's so important for them to get it offshore. So we say, no, we want it here. We're going to be here. Why? Because everything else, from the taxes for our schools and our roads and our community, for our health care, for the employment for our students, for our kids as well as ourselves, for the development of our infrastructure, both locally, that's all there with this buying local.
Go ahead,
Are you
Susan.
ready to make the commitment? And Americans have been dithering. That's on them. So we've all been corrupted with the so-called low price. Low price is the corruption in which they've used to bribe and corrupt us.
Susan, go.
1 day a month. May not
It
sound like
sounds
much,
really easy. It
but
does.
it's
It
actually
sounds
2 weeks a year. That's huge. It's 2 weeks a year.
Susan, Hawaii. You had a
Oh,
question for Ragu.
aloha. Yeah, aloha, Regu. Nice to meet you.
Aloha, dear.
Just wanted to touch in just for a second. It's the people. Irony is people have always had the power. It's just we've all been asleep under enforced Stockholm syndrome since birth because that's the system, the matrix that's been enforced on us. What everyone needs to do, Rob might find this interesting too, is look in your state and see who the primary landowners are. Because so many of them, and people don't check into this, which it just totally amazes me. In Kauai, we have Alexander and Baldwin. We have Grove Farm. We have the state has just garnered a huge chunk of land. There's so many things that could be utilized. Now, a lot of these are going to be rolled in with, and some already have, Executive Order 13818, if you're familiar with that. Any form of acts against crimes against humanity that these companies, these corporations, these billionaires who, own large tracts of land have committed against the people are rolled in, their assets are frozen. So they lose all their assets. They're rolled into the U.S. Treasury, and then they're redistributed to any injured parties they've incurred injuries to, and to humanitarian purposes. So it's really easy to expand the farmland opportunities. All you have to do is apply for it. That's what it's for. It's not going to be problematic to create more farmland. It's just knowing where to go and where to start, and that's really all it takes. It's so simple, it's complicated.
So Restaurant Row is there to bring in Restaurant Row is to bring into focus of both the issue collectively. I think the Japanese will love this because basically this shortfall of interface is really what you're talking about is truth throughout the entire world, which is to say that we have this massive market, 3%, if we got 10%.
Farming is a top priority. It's going to be the top priority. And anyone that's participating in that kind of venture is going to be highlighted for certainly. You think they're going to turn farmers and would-be farmers away and communities based around that? No.
So what you're saying, like people say that a lot, but like the weight of what you just said, people don't fully. So here was the original logo for the American Shopping Party. Food is the new oil. Hawaii is the new Saudi Arabia.
One more time. Food is the what?
Food is the new oil.
Oh, yeah. I heard you say
you're spending $4.50 for a gallon of gas. You're spending, $20 for a premium orange juice. 4 times the price, almost 5 times the price. Hawaii is the new Saudi Arabia because our branding, the Hawaii brand, already comes in at the top of the market. We just have to not screw it up. Farmers are the oil barons, and that fruit tree is the oil well. You know, to put in an orange tree, I think is like, you know, $50 or something. You know, and to put in an oil well costs like what I think it runs between $3 to $5 million. And you're getting more money, and it's so much less work. I mean, it's a testament to our own conditioning and how demoniac things are. That something this simple, that's this profitable, it's gotten so profitable. So right now it's the oil. If the dollar collapses or we go to war, the oil supply, it's the gold. Food's like not the oil anymore. It's the gold. We all need food. Why does everyone want gold? Like, get gold for what? To buy food. Food's the gold. We get grow for $50 out in our yard here in Hawaii, 700,000 acres unused. Officially doesn't even include our front and backyards and the rest of it. So you have to be careful. One thing I realized, and this is something that Gandhi realized, and it was something that he cued me into after I started thinking about it. Don't let the monsters distract you from the gifts that you have to work with. It was always about the British that. So there's this absolutely gorgeous scene where the council for, you know, all the leaders of the Indian independence movement were surrounded, were gathering. And they're like, these British, and they are there, and they're making slaves out of us, and we got to push back and break the neck of those. So then Gandhi gets up and he grabs the tea, the fellow serving tea, and he begins serving them tea. And he says, yes, our inclination is to want to punish those that would have us enslaved to do menial service without proper reciprocation. But it's better that we at least recognize that we are all, you know, we are all coming up short. And it is in learning to honor each other. It's such a beautiful, powerful scene. And that's really what it comes down to.
Thank you so much, Raghu, for coming tonight. And I think I asked you this, but I'll ask you one more time. Will you come back to our town hall?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a little shy. And so I was being a little facetious when I said definitely not, but I'm a little shy because this was very special. People have been listening to me for years, and it never sounded this good. Like the good Lord allowed me to channel. I'm going to take this, and this is going to be the official piece, because on a regular basis, I just implode. Like, it's in my chart astrologically, public speaking. It's like, it's not for you. You have to find other people to do it. I'm the writer, you know, the strategy. It's like, this was a very special night. The good Lord allowed us to cover a lot of ground. And it's because somebody on here, or multiples of you on here, are you needed to hear this. So this was for you. So I'm very concerned that I won't be able to top what we, or even commensurate with what we had tonight. It's very special.
Challenge for next time. We are going to go into our state-to-state intel round. If you are welcome to hang on and join us, listen, share, chime in. You are in Hilo, Hawaii, so maybe some things going on there that we don't know about. We do want to focus our topics tonight on Trump's economic kickstart, President Trump's executive order slashing energy regulations are projected to cut gas prices by 20% and boost manufacturing jobs, with supporters on X hailing it as the mega economic miracle. Also going to talk about border wall funding surge, JD Vance free speech crusade, Second Amendment victories, pro-life momentum at SCOTUS, school choice breakthrough, energy independence push, military recruitment overhaul. We got a lot going on. Like, really, we should have started like 2 hours earlier. Voter ID going national, tariffs on Trump, and tariffs triumphs for American jobs. So those are my top 10s that I got.
Wow. And a real quick commercial break. Those that are watching the live stream, please join RedAmericaFirst.com We are looking for panel members all over the 50 states. There are corruption at the local level, at the state level, and we want to hear your voice. So, RedAmericaFirst.com. We're going into the state-to-state intel, and we might be shutting off the live stream. So, you guys have a good night on the live streamers, but the rest of the team will continue. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate everything. And Megeso, we got you up first. You ready? I guess I should, after that introduction, finish the Intel topics, or was the short version better? I can go into the Ashley long version if you really want me to. I might be talking a while.
No, I think we need the short version.
Okay. So, top 10,
It's been
Trump's
on
economic kickstart, border wall funding surge, JD Vance free speech crusade, Second Amendment victories, our life
been
amendments.
been a long day for me, but